How's it going, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Clocking Out. I'm your host, PR, the King of Hearts. Hold on, I got all this echoing going on. And tonight, yes, we are with a special guest, Sarah. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be invited on.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time. I really like your setup in the back. Like, I'm super jealous.
Yeah, I've got I can move my camera around. I've got all my Legos and some of my books, and then where you can't see is like some Harry Potter stuff.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was seeing right there, and I was like, "Oh, I love it." But
that was collected before I ever started doing any kind of streaming anything. So that would just happen to be like a coincidence, and I was like, "Hey, that's a good backdrop."
Exactly. That happens a lot, mostly with the stuff that you have around, right? You
Pretty much
expect it, and it's something that represents you in a good way.
Yep.
So before we get into anything, I know that you do video game streaming, correct?
I do. Yep.
And besides that, is there anything else that you do streaming wise besides for video game streaming? Do you vlog? Do you
I do a little vlogging, but I do that for my members only channel, like that section of my channel, where I give them a little bit like of, update to my life, insight into my personal stuff, and take them with me on little road trips or things like that. So I do that, but it's for the paid members. It's kind of one of those perks that you get. So I don't really put that out there for the general public, although I've had people say I should do that. Maybe one day.
Hey, you never know. It's step by step, but at least you toy around with things like that, which is good.
I started out making videos first before I started streaming, when it came to the whole video game thing, because I wanted to ease into it. And it took me a while to even be convinced to do it, because I was like, I'm old. Nobody wants to watch somebody who's old playing video games. That's weird.
Never say that. That used to be in my mind too, man. I'm telling you, and it's totally different. There's people out there that want to see what we're doing and know more about us.
Well, actually, there's a lot more people my age playing video games than people would think. So I feel like I've hit my target demographic, and there you go.
Exactly, I hear you. So before we get into anything, let me give you the floor so you can introduce yourselves to our streamers, listeners, and supporters.
Perfect.
And give them a brief little intro to who Sarah is and what your background is with video gaming.
Okay, well, my name is Sarah, and I go by Serendipity Plays on YouTube and Instagram. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Twitch. I mean, I have a Twitch account, but I don't stream on there. And I do have TikTok, but I barely post because I'm terrible at social media. I'm sure Gary Vee would be very disappointed in me. But I've been playing video games since I was like, I don't know, 7 years old. And one of my friends invited me over and we played Atari. That I got hooked. I was like, this is great. And then one year for Christmas, my brother and I got a Nintendo NES. And I've been playing video games ever since. And it's my way to sort of decompress and relax and just, have fun with my family, or have fun now with all the people that I play with online. And I've made a lot of really amazing friends, and it's a nice way to kind of wind down your day if you need to, but also I feel accomplished in some of the things in some of the games I play. I do a lot of building and decorating and creating these whole like spaces, and it's like a little creative outlet too, I guess you could say. So about a little over a year ago, my oldest daughter and my kids in general were like, Mom, you should do this. You should stream. You play all these video games. You should do that. And I was like, nobody wants to watch that. That's not a thing. But after time, I was like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe I'll just do it for fun, And I started preparing and recording some videos and learning how to use OBS and how to edit videos and all the things that go along with that, because it was like kind of a new world for me. And I'm not very technically literate. So I decided to make a video series of me building this sort of tropical hotel resort on this one game that I play, and turned it into a video series and launched my channel with that. And the rest, as they say, is history. So it's been a really awesome year. And I've made a lot of friends, and I'm having a great time. It's challenging because, like I said, I'm not very technically oriented. I've had to learn a lot of software and how to hook all the things together, and plugins and drivers, and I didn't think it was, I knew it was hard, but I didn't think it was going to be that much of a learning hurdle. And, I've had a few people in the YouTube streaming world that I've admired, and I knew it wasn't this just super easy. You flip a switch and you jump online and you start streaming to people, but I was not prepared for the amount of things I was going to have to learn. And I have appreciated every single person along the way who has given me advice or given me some tips, or hey, maybe set your thing up this way, your sound will sound better, your video quality will be better. And there have been several people who've been very generous with that information, and so that's really nice. And we've got a lovely little community, and hello to all the people watching right now. I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I'll stop and let you go.
No, I love it, and that's exactly what we need. We need to get an idea of who you are and and you literally like, oh, I'm sitting here like keeping track of what you're saying and going through my questions to make sure I don't ask anything twice. But everything that you're saying is exactly what people like us are looking for when we're having that first initial interaction with someone.
Perfect.
And 1 second, I'm being told that we're not being heard on.
Oh no.
On X, what's going on? Something should be working.
See, technical difficulties.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
But it happened. I'm pretty sure we're good. But hop over to Twitch or on YouTube, and you can from what I'm seeing and hearing, everyone can hear us over there. Maybe there's just an issue.
It looks good. It looks good on Twitch. So
what I wanted to get into, because you touched on a lot of stuff, yes. And what you mentioned your first time with handhelds and video games and everything like that. And what was your actual first video game that got you like really hooked to the point that you were running back to play it every single day, and that you wanted to either beat it or you just wanted to get really good at it?
There were two. The original Zelda, like the open world scrolling screen original Zelda, and then Super Mario Brothers 3. I was obsessed with that game when I was a kid. I'd played all the other ones, Mario 1 and 2, but for whatever reason, that some of the added features for number 3 just really made me like that game so much more. And like speed running the levels and all the things that you do when you're a kid and trying not to die and rack up all those extra lives, that kind of thing. So those are probably the two initial ones that really sucked me into the gaming world. And the Legend of Zelda series really throughout my childhood and teenage and adult years. I'm still playing Zelda to this day. So
yes. I love Zelda. My favorite, like I loved all of them. The first time I ever played one was on the Game Boy one. A friend of mine let me borrow his Game Boy, and that was the only game that he had on it. At first I didn't like it, and then the more and more I played it, I got addicted to it. But then I played the regular one for N64, Ocarina of Time. But the one that I really liked playing over and over again was Majora's Mask. That was the one I was really hooked on for a while.
See, and that I didn't play that one, but like one time through, I think. But Ocarina of Time has some special memories. And then Twilight Princess is when the Wii U came out, not the Wii U, but the Wii. And then of course when Breath of the Wild came out, I played that obsessively for like a year. I'm a completionist to some extent when it comes to some of these games. And so I wanted to get every Korok seed. I wanted to do every shrine, every side quest. It was a little bit intense.
I love it though. I love getting into that. I'd rather get into things like that than wasting my time doing other things around there and getting into things that I don't need to be into. So I really got addicted to games when I was younger, and it just became not only an escape, but like I don't know, you get like this focus on certain things. I don't know, maybe it's just me having an excuse to play video games, but I feel like it helps you either notice things here and there when you're really not trying to notice it, just because you get like this, I don't know if it's a second instinct thing, but it's like while you're playing, you can still notice that there are things that are going to happen before it happens, whether it's like a repetitiveness in the game or just the way that things are laid out. And I feel like a lot of those things can transition to life, and that makes you even get more connected to games, just like no different than people get connected to like TV shows on Netflix or movies or certain music artists, like.
I think it teaches you too, with some games, you do, like you said, it's a repeatable thing. And say you're not skilled enough and you have to build that skill to complete the level or get the boss or whatever. And I feel like, to me, it's like the perseverance of, okay, I'm gonna beat this troll today.
Yes, exactly. Yes. That's it's the competitiveness that comes out of nowhere, and that you just like really focus on it and you tune in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like those adventuring type games, but here lately in my more adult life, like 2020, we all know what happened then. And Nintendo came out with the Animal Crossing New Horizons game, and it came out at the perfect time because everybody was going into lockdown. And so everyone was playing Animal Crossing. And I really got hooked into the whole like decorating and designing aspect of games because I had basically been an adventure game kind of player, a lot of Zelda, but also things like Diablo, Warcraft. I'd never played World of Warcraft because about that time in my life, I had a lot of other things going on. And so gaming wasn't a priority right then. But so I transitioned in about 2020 to these more like design, decorating, layout type games like Animal Crossing. You can play Animal Crossing for what it is, but most people play it to decorate their house or their island, or they get special villagers to come in, that kind of thing. So I've kind of transitioned into that direction, but I do love a good, combat game from time to time. I'm not into Call of Duty or any of those kinds of games typically. I tend to like a little bit chiller. A little bit more chill, a little bit more what they call cozy gaming. I would consider Zelda to be a cozy game because you don't have to go fight the goblins. You don't have to go fight the bosses if you don't want to, especially in the open world ones. You can just go explore if you'd like, which is, I enjoy that. It's like a scavenger hunt, it's fun. So
what initially drew you towards cozy gaming, like designing and decorating and things like that?
I think because I would enjoy it in real life, but economics sort of play a part in not being able to like really design my house the way I would want, because I have expensive champagne taste, but I have a cheap beer budget. You know what I mean? So I can sort of vicariously live in the gaming world and do all this. Like right now, I'm really into this game called House Flipper 2, and you can totally renovate houses, build houses, decorate these houses. And so it's kind of flexing that side of myself that I don't really get to do in real life because I just don't have the money or realistically that kind of time and skill. I don't know how to build anything. So in real life, in a game, I can do it, but don't give me a hammer and nails. I don't know what to do with that.
No, I hear you. There's a lot of things that I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I get too into things. Like maybe Call of Duty makes me think if an actual terrorist jumped in somewhere, I'd be able to defend people, knowing damn well I can't. But it's one of those things that I understand, like, but you get comfortable with it. Like whether it's the way you look at it in the game and the layout and you just knowing how certain things would look before you even put it out, it's like it becomes like a second nature, like a quick reflex thing. Like it's just in you already that you can do it. But I would believe that you can still transition those things into reality still in some way. And
I've had a lot of people comment and say, well, yeah, I think you should be an interior designer. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's one thing having a game with all the options, and to in real life go, oh gosh, how do I make this work in real life?
Exactly. No, I get you.
But I think everybody that I follow, who sort of designs in their games, we all have sort of a signature way we do it. Like some people are very nature oriented and they can do these really beautiful landscape type designs. And I'm definitely more like interior design where I can decorate a room inside. So I think everybody has like their signature thing. And that's kind of fun to sort of flesh out as you get a little bit more experience and go, okay, I'm really good at this. I can partner up with so-and-so because I don't do that very well. And they can come over and help me make that side of it better. And then I can go help them if they're, they have less skill in something. So it's a fun collaborative thing too, because you might do something better than they do and vice versa. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I like that though. I like that people think like that and that they're willing to either share or be open and just not even just document their life or anything else other than the fact that they enjoy what they're doing. They want to share with other people, but at the same time, they're willing to do that in a way that is not only motivating people and giving them the courage to do it themselves, but you're offering the help as well. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a thing that comes full circle, and that's what I really like. I think we just need more of that because
You build a community. You build a
yes,
community with people.
yes,
And of course the state of the world, we all feel so disconnected, especially during COVID, but we're coming out of the severe COVID times, and I feel like people don't know how to be in community anymore.
100%.
And so that's more important than ever because, when we get so disconnected as a society, we feel like all these differences are dividing us when really we have a lot more in common than people think. And if you just sit down and like play a game together or whatever, it doesn't even have to be that, but I feel like it's one of those barrier breakers, because I'm in this, big group of people and we don't all think exactly the same. We don't all agree on everything, but that commonality really brings a bond that wouldn't have been there otherwise, probably.
No,
So,
I agree with you because you share it. It becomes a personal thing, and I've noticed that a lot with a lot of communities. Everyone just finds themselves like some of them aren't for certain people, but the more and more you look, you always come across the right. Like they always say, find your tribe, and
yep,
you always come across your own tribe. But then at the same time, it always grows from just these complete strangers to friends online to people that feel like they're family, and it's just because
exactly.
all of you at some point you're there for each other, but you're also sharing more and more of yourselves on a personal level. And it's just crazy how it goes because I remember growing up, you wouldn't even be able to think of doing that with people online.
Right.
It was weird to if you would even say that to someone, they'd be like, yeah, okay, you're talking to a complete stranger on God knows where, and they're just
Yep.
okay, trust them with everything, like.
Yeah.
But and now it's like the norm, which is just it's crazy. Like
I remember being a teenager. I was in like my senior year of high school is when the internet kind of exploded, right? Everything was www dot whatever the website was. And as I was going into my freshman year of college, it really, everybody was getting email addresses. And so, it's funny that the juxtaposition of back then your parents would tell you, oh, you don't talk to strangers on the internet. And now everybody talks to each other on the internet.
yes, that and the whole thing of like you're getting into strangers' cars using Uber and things
I
like that. It's
know.
like,
Or having them come to your house and deliver food.
yes. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the more and more you think of that is crazy. And then at the same time, a lot of things move onto that space into community and to connecting with each other on a more personal level like that. And it
Yeah.
normally starts with something like video gaming and
Yeah.
streaming, talking to people online and then finding each other's social media and then wanting to like it always builds up. I know that there's people that I grew up with that they became friends with a lot of people that they're still close with to this day that were in their marriage and they look like their family that they met from playing Xbox 360. Like
Right.
it's things like that that you wouldn't really expect, but it's like some people don't understand it, and other people, when you don't really have anything else but gaming and communicating with those people online that you feel are the only ones that match your tribe, like that you build those bonds, and then sometimes you outgrow things and sometimes you don't, and you find other ways to keep things going. But
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask you next is that, speaking about all this community and everything like that and social media and everything, you don't have any social media besides your YouTube and your Instagram. And you've been like, is that like a conscious decision for like specifically or like
I think it's just sort of evolved because I've had all of them at one point. And the older I've gotten, the more I just have tried to simplify my life. And I don't enjoy Facebook anymore. And I was almost never on Twitter. I think I had an account for like 3 weeks and was like, this is terrible. I never want to be on here again.
I
So I was
hear
like,
you.
I'm out. And so I never got back on. And Instagram, I was a professional photographer for 15 years. And so Instagram back in the day was showcasing your photography. And so not just my business side of my photography, but also my personal, like what I took for me, like landscapes and things like that. And so I was always really big into Instagram because of my photography background. And YouTube, I got interested in YouTube when Animal Crossing came out and I wanted to consume Animal Crossing content. I was like, well, how's everybody else setting up their thing? I want to see what they're doing. And so I've kept up with YouTube and Instagram because those are my two interests, and everything else has just sort of fallen by the wayside, not because of any big, like, I'm going to take a stand against social media, but I just don't use Facebook. And it's mostly, where everybody goes to like gripe about their problems and, or it like brag about how amazing their life is. And that's great and all, but like, I don't know. I feel like the people that I want to keep in contact with, I have their number and I'll just text them. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I think the same way too. I like using social media because like sometimes like I keep in contact with the people that I are close by still, but
Sure.
it's a once in a blue thing. And then like I mentioned before, you're so consistently online that you're more in these communities than you are in the real world. And then you start building these bonds with people that you start feeling like they're family. So I feel more close. I feel like I've shared more personal things with people that I've met in these communities that I'm
Yes.
still in contact with this day than
Yeah.
I do in my real life, like my family.
And I have plans to meet some of these people in real life because they do live, within driving distance or whatever. Even the ones that don't, like I'm looking at, okay, could I get a cheap plane ticket to go visit this person? And I have some friends now because of this game we've all love and play and have been playing for the last couple of years called Dinkum. It's about Australia. It's like the first game I've ever seen. It's like an adventure game, but it's also become this sort of creative building game as well. And it's about Australia. It's set in the Australian outback, and it's really cute. I love it. It's like my favorite game probably ever. And I've met a lot of people who actually live in Australia, and they're like, "You should come visit," And so it's one of those things where I'd never really thought about going to Australia before, but now because so many of my friends who also play this game are there, and we're all friends on YouTube, and we're friends in Discord and on Instagram, I was like, maybe I'll make that a bucket list trip or something one day to go see everybody. Because they really do, like you said, they feel like family. I talk to them almost every day, and there's people in my real life I don't even do that with. So my physical, I'd see them, in my real life. So it's interesting, but I feel like the internet has been such a wonderful tool. I mean, I both love and hate it at times, but to be able to connect with people, not just locally, but like all over the world who have similar interests to you or similar struggles in life, and also be exposed to so many different cultures and so many different like places, that you wouldn't, necessarily be able to experience otherwise. And so I've thought that's been really awesome because I don't have a tremendous amount of extra funds to just go globe hopping. I would love to do that, but I just can't practically. And so, kind of through these games and through my relationships with these people I've met, you get to sort of get a snippet of what other people's lives are like other places. And it really, I think, opens your sphere a little bit more, and you see other perspectives that you wouldn't have normally necessarily been exposed to, otherwise. So I really do like that about all of this, and the argument of how you pronounce certain things, pergola versus pergola. It's a big thing between us Americans and the Australians when we're playing this one game, just these little tiny rivalries, but we love to rib each other about, and the little inside jokes that you get. It's great. I have more friends online right now than I do in real life or in my present, physical life. And, it's kind of interesting how that all works out, but I'm very lucky to have them all. And they've made this last year infinitely better than it would have been. So I do appreciate all of them. And for them who will watch later, hi guys.
Yeah, a lot of them were here in the chat also earlier. We have Robert. Robert was in here in
Awesome.
YouTube. We also got Christian.
Hey guys.
A lot of people here on YouTube. I'm just like trying to scroll through the chat. Well, I got so too into the conversation, and then Megan's in here also. Full Moon Children is here. Nacho's here. Who else did we got? Is Nathan here? No, I thought Nathan was in here. But before I get distracted, I wanted to ask you, you're talking about your community and everything like that you made and you started on YouTube, and you mentioned earlier like starting using OBS and everything and slowly start making your way into like, starting the stream. What was it that had you start focusing on like specifically YouTube and not Twitch or not, Kick or, Facebook or, what was it that made you stick to these two? Because, a lot of people, me, myself also, and the reason I'm asking is because I want to know too, you definitely have more experience streaming than I do. And I would always want to mix things up and try, a streaming video gaming along with some like real life vlogging streaming thing, like a whole bunch of different stuff. So what is it that made you stick specifically to YouTube and Instagram?
That's a good question. So YouTube, because I had kind of hopped on YouTube in 2020 with the Animal Crossing craze and was watching all these content creators make videos and live stream Animal Crossing, it's kind of where I started. I knew Twitch existed, but YouTube, I'd had a YouTube account since YouTube became a thing. So I was like, well, YouTube, it was just easy. It was there. And that's where I was, that's where I'd go and search for how to build X thing in Animal Crossing and would watch videos. And I would do the rabbit trail, go down the rabbit hole of, exploring different content creators and looking for different things. And so I've been on YouTube for the last 4 years, following several different people and like really getting involved in their chats and their communities during live streams. And I kind of already built up sort of, at the time I didn't realize it, but I had built up like sort of a ready-made audience by having all these relationships and chatting with people in different streams or different Discord channels or whatever. And so when I went to kind of make the decision to like, okay, maybe I'll do this too, the natural progression was just to stay with YouTube, even though everybody's like, well, if you're going to stream games, you should be on Twitch. And Twitch, for whatever reason, seemed so much more intimidating to me, even though everybody says it's way easier to stream on.
Yeah.
I got to do everything the hard way, apparently. It was just what it was familiar to me at the time. And I've had people tell me, and it is a goal for me in this next year of my channel to maybe branch into Twitch and do some dual streaming, stream on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. But again, being so technically illiterate, that I'm doing good just to stream on one platform usually and making sure that's all working correctly. And then the thought of doing it on two, just like, oh, I've got to keep up with two chats. Like I can hardly sometimes read the one that I have and keep up with them. So I'm just trying to like baby steps, and get into that. Like I felt really accomplished the other day when a friend of mine was telling me about this plugin for OBS to do vertical videos for like TikTok and your stories on Instagram. And I learned how to like push this button on my keyboard to go, it does this backtrack thing where it'll record the last 60 seconds and it makes these great 60-second shorts that you can put on YouTube or your Instagram story. And it's little things like that. I'm like, oh, I feel so accomplished. I learned something. And it's like most people who are very technically literate are like, yeah, that's easy. What are you so like? You're so excited about something that's so basic, but it's little things like that. And I have to do so much research. I have to watch a how-to video to set some stuff up because I have no idea. So I'm watching all these people on YouTube and their how-to videos to figure all this stuff out. So it was, I think for me, it was just YouTube was the natural slide in. I already had a built-in audience with all these people I'd already had friendships with for the last 4 years. And, I started my channel and literally had, I think, 50 subscribers within like 2 days, because I had so many people that I knew, in the YouTube streaming world that were like, oh yeah, we'll come support your channel. And it's just kind of grown from there. I'm actually kind of surprised at how sometimes it feels slow to me, the growth. But everybody's telling me it's going really fast, that I've just reached 800 right as I hit my 1 year mark, 800 subscribers, which is a big deal to me.
Yes.
I never thought more than like 50 people were ever going to subscribe. So that was really exciting.
That's a big goal. Congratulations on
Thank
that
you.
because it's definitely not easy. It's a lot of people think it's like you mentioned, like some people, whether you're new to it and you're getting into it or whether you're just watching someone do it, a lot of people just think it's just you're flipping a switch and that's it. Everything just automatically starts working. But then the more and more you do it, you start realizing that there's a method to this madness of why people do things like,
Right.
the
very first time I ever streamed, like I had been doing videos for several months and releasing them several times a week. And the very first time I was going to go to stream, I was so nauseous and like, I'm going to throw up. Like I was like so panicked and like shaking. And like I had 40 or 50 people in my chat because everybody was like, oh, it's her first stream. Let's go support her. And I was like, panicked, like, no, don't come watch later. Like,
yeah. No, that happens a lot. I get the same way too at first, but now it's like I try to do it so often that it like I want it to become second nature. I don't want to second guess it. I don't want to.
Now I just like hit the go live button and I'm just like, hey guys, what's up? And literally I'm walking into the room right before I'm supposed to start. Whereas before I'd sit there for like 30 minutes and like, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to do this? Like I'm going to get this script going in my head. And if all the people on YouTube watching right now that are part of my community, they're like, she just wings it every time now. There's no script. It's just stumbling over words. And I feel like to some extent, when it is overly produced, I do enjoy those videos. I do enjoy those streams where it's very professional looking and it's all fancy and wonderful. But I do enjoy and appreciate people who are a little bit more like me. It's very organic. It's very real. It's like, oh wait, my stream deck isn't working, y'all. Hang on just a second, because that's life. Life throws you curveballs, and it's not always perfect and wonderful and super produced. And that's how we roll over here. So.
No, it's 100. I agree with you. And sometimes it's better because, like you said, it's not only is it just life, but it shows people that you're human. You make mistakes, things happen, but it's also showing them that you have the experience to adapt on it. That you've been doing it so much that okay, this has happened once or twice before. I know what to do. I know what to like, and it helps you out too. Because it's me when I first started. If I didn't know why certain things weren't working, and someone said they didn't hear the sound, or it was. I totally just give up and look at it as an excuse. You know what? Tomorrow or next week, we try. And meanwhile, it was probably like the simplest thing, like jiggle a wire or something. Like, so now it's like I'm more worried about staying consistent because, like, the reason I like doing it, yes, I enjoy what I'm doing. But in all honesty, like you mentioned, around COVID and even before then, there's a lot of times that I would spend many, many hours just watching people stream and everything. And it would keep me from overthinking about things. It would help me relax. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, but you find yourself gravitating to these streamers and content creators and everything. So I always look at it like if I can just do something to help guide the way to someone who needs that, whether it's to learn something or whether it's to be distracted or be entertained or whatever it is, point them in the right direction to someone who's doing it that actually cares about what they're doing. Like if you're looking for someone who's streaming about video games, go to this person. You want someone who's going to educate you on taxes and everything, go to this person. And that's what I'm basically trying to do, because I know it's like you mentioned, like when you're trying to learn something, I look at it, the only two places people go to because they don't really network or join communities such as this, where you can actually ask someone and they're willing to help you. They go to either YouTube or Google. That's like the main thing. They go to Google to see what it is. If they don't explain it, they go to YouTube to get it broken down to them. And then they repeat the cycle. And then, so it's like what you're saying, like YouTube was my home to a lot of things. I didn't know how to use any of this stream, but YouTube, you could definitely find anything on YouTube or TikTok now. TikTok is another monster.
Oh yeah. I call it YouTube and TikTok University. I have learned more things since being on both of these platforms than I probably ever did in school or during my college degree. Like
100%. And it's crazy. What bugs me out also is like my son will always do something. And I'm like, because it's my son. I'm like, I know you've never been around someone to teach you that. So where the hell did you learn this? Like, it's like TikTok or YouTube. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, I go in here. I was like, but you shouldn't even be able to see that. Yeah, but then I found a way around that too. I do that. I'm like, oh my Jesus. Like, you just know all the little, but it's again, it's those things like when you really want to figure something out, especially nowadays, like, that's why I feel like I really like, I believe school is good for experience, to get like real human experience and know how to be responsible with things.
Yeah.
But I feel like that not being able to go to school shouldn't be an excuse for you not to really try and learn something new or try and perfect something that you really care about or you're interested in. So it's like whether it's streaming or, doing photography or whatever, a big part of it nowadays is everything is online. It's social media. You have to have a social media presence because, again, everyone goes to YouTube or Google to find, you have a business. Okay, let me look you up. If it's not that they want to try and get a sample of what you're doing before they buy into it, it's they want to see exactly what the quality is or what it's a whole bunch of different things. But at the end of the day, it's like you go through the steps of learning one thing and then you're just like, I'm just going to focus on this. And then you start noticing, you start trickling down to this and then that and then software. And next thing you know, you got boom mics and all these freaking things. And you're like, all I wanted to do was record online. Like, exactly, it's me and I got a little one. And my thing is like $12 and then I got, but it's been hanging in here. So until this day,
and here's the thing for anybody out there, you don't have to have super expensive equipment. Now I've gotten lucky and was gifted some things for birthday and whatnot and have really nice lights and I have a stream deck and things like that, but you don't have to have that kind of stuff. And I like what you were saying about how learning and experience. I'm not technically literate, very well. I can learn something if I have to read and watch videos, but it takes me longer than somebody who's a little bit more like they gravitate towards that naturally. Being, the older we get, I think I've watched people in my life just stop learning. stop getting growing as a human being. And I don't want to do that. I want to continually learn to do new things, push the boundary a little bit, take myself just a little bit outside my comfort zone. So I do something, I'm just pushing a little bit, not a lot, but just enough that there's some growth and there's some change. And it's not just in learning all this technical stuff, but in my just life in general, whenever you do things that make you just a little uncomfortable, like, I don't know how to do this, but I guess I'll figure it out. I think you expand that number one, your knowledge, but you also open yourself up to way more opportunity and possibility because you're pushing yourself just a little bit, and I think some people make the mistake of pushing too far, too fast, too hard. And you got to figure that balance out. At first I was only going to release a video once a week. And then I decided, no, I want to do that more. I've got all these ideas. I want to do more things. And so now I'm doing videos, I'm doing shorts, I'm doing live streams, and being consistent. Like you said, you have to be consistent in this world to really grow and keep, and I feel like the reason why I was able to get to 800 subscribers in a year was just having a schedule that everybody could rely on. Okay, she's going to stream on these days at this time, these games, and she's going to have videos come out on these days. And when people become reliant on that, it becomes a part of their routine, and you become a part of their daily life. And it's a really cool sort of symbiotic thing, that works together. So yeah, consistency. I know we kind of just rabbit trailed there all around the bend. Yes. But when you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, consistency, because every single content creator that I admire, that I look up to, that has 50,000 plus or more subscribers that I've talked to, that's their thing, consistency. Now I have to work a full-time job, so I'm not streaming all day, every day, like a lot of the pro streamers do. So I can only do what I can do within my work schedule. But, some of these guys, that's their job, and so they stream maybe once or twice a day, and they have videos coming out every day, and they're generating just a tremendous amount of content. And one day, maybe that'll be my full-time job, and that would be super awesome. But right now I got to go, work in the coal mines like everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's the same with me, and it's the same with a lot of people. I believe a lot of people still have their regular 9-to-5 jobs, which is why I wanted to do something like this. I know that there's a lot of people that want to be either content creators or start a brand or do their own business or just stream online, whether it's that they want to give advice or share what they're talented on or whatever. And I look at it that we have a lot of people that want to do that, but then to the ones that we actually see doing it, it seems like they're doing something impossible, and it's really not. And it's like you mentioned, you go through the steps and you start doing stuff, and then you really don't realize that you're literally learning all this stuff and going down this rabbit hole. And it's not that you're not trying. Like you think like you're just losing yourself going from one thing to another, and little do you know, you're really building those steps and those things that you need to do exactly what you envisioned in your head. Yeah. And a lot of people make it seem more impossible than what it is because of the fact that, like you said, online, some of them want to fake their lifestyle or make it seem some type of way. So it looks really intimidating that you can't really hit the person up and be like, yo, how did you do this? Or why does this look like this? Or how did you get this effect? Like simple things. But being that this is the person that introduced you into watching that or being interested into even thinking about it, like it's the first person you gravitate to, like you mentioned, like you mentioned Gary Vee before, and it's like like that. Sometimes I overthink of things and I was like, I shouldn't even post this because I don't got another 30 videos to follow it in an hour. Like, what am I going to do? So it's like you overthink. But then the more and more I realized that I started doing little steps, there's people that actually appreciate those little steps, and they grow with you, and they start building with you, and they start seeing your growth. And so it's like, it's this whole process that, like, again, I mentioned, there's a method to the madness. And as much as some of us are looked at like we're too crazy for taking that step to try something new and start from scratch and not have connections to get like 1 billion followers or have the funding to do this extravagant event and get all the fancy equipment, like at the end of the day, it's being consistent. The more consistent you are, and the more that you show that you care about it and you respect it, and you're putting in the time to research what type of mic you need. And after your first streams that you need a better mic or better lighting in the back, but they see that and they respect it. And not only that, you're showing more and more of yourself, and that's what I feel like really builds the bond between the creators, the streamers, and the communities. And I just love it. I still feel like
Absolutely.
I'm learning as much as I can still. So when I hear other people say it that I see are clearly doing a lot more than I am and have a bigger following and a more consistent like flow of things, I look at it like, you know what, there's a lot of things that I can learn from this. So let me pay attention, because obviously it's working for them. So what
Well,
are
and
they?
here's another thing that I would say to somebody, and I'm a baby YouTube channel, really. 800 subscribers, well, I think is amazing in the grand scheme of most of the people I follow. That's really small, right? But I didn't start with all this, double screens and lights and all the things. I had just a laptop. That was it. That's where I started. I even have like a short on my YouTube channel where I did the little, zoom in. This is where I started. And then I zoom out to this whole setup I have here and set it to music and all that. And I was really proud of that, because I was like, this is where you start. You start, because a lot of people don't have thousands of dollars to drop on all this stuff. And I had a lot of people in the beginning asking me like, how did you do this? And I was like, you can cripple and sabotage yourself by overthinking and wanting to get to a perfect place. Oh, I need this to be perfect. I need my sound to be perfect. I need my video quality to be. If you do that, you will talk yourself out of it. And so I was doing that to myself. I was like, in March and April, I was like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. And finally, I just started recording and started working on editing it. And then I released the first video, and it was like, I'm going to learn as I go, because if I wait until everything is perfect, I will never get started. I will find some excuse to keep backing off. Oh, well, this didn't work out, or this didn't work out. And I can't go back and watch the first videos I did, because I was like, what was I doing? And probably a year from now, I'm going to look at the ones I just did today and be like, what was I thinking? So it's an evolutionary sort of growth process. And for anybody out there that wants to do it, if you think you don't have the stuff, we all started with, sometimes it's just a matter of having your phone. Maybe you're not a gamer. Maybe you want to do vlogging, or you want to get into being an influencer for yoga, or whatever the case may be, whatever your interest is. You don't have to have a lot of fancy stuff at first. You just get started making something.
Yes.
Because as my husband's a big Gary Vee fan, but and I've listened and heard through osmosis, but really you just do, don't think about it being this, production. Just create content. Don't generate, make it authentic and genuine. If you're out and you want to start vlogging, then just hit that go live button and figure it out as you go. Okay, that was really dark. People couldn't hear me as well. Next time, let me do this, this, and this, because nobody's going to have 100 people join a stream on their first go anyway. So you don't really have to have this big, elaborate production. It can grow, and they'll, like you were saying, it'll grow with you. They'll be like, oh, this person's genuine and normal. They're like me trying to figure this out. They're like a baby giraffe trying to learn to walk, figuring all these things out. So I think it gives people the courage, because when you do have this really, and I'm not slighting them in the least, but any of those YouTubers have these really produced and beautiful videos with all the production stuff, that can be really intimidating. When you see that as somebody who's just starting out, you're like, well, I'll never get that. I'll never be able to do that. So I feel like those of us who are fairly new to the game, sharing it's not always going to be rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes this doesn't work out great, and the sound is terrible, and the technical thing didn't work out, and the internet dropped, and my stream stopped, and that's real life. And people are going to be a lot less intimidated. Oh, well, they are having all those issues and they're fine, so maybe I can do it too.
100%. I agree with you on that. And that's why I like when people share their experience, or share, whether it's behind the scenes or like literally, like you mentioned, like you should have started a stream a while ago or whatever, but still it's like you show up and you're able to share that with them, or they're able to see it. It's those things that don't go unnoticed, but it's also those little things that make it what it is and make it more personal, in the sense that they know you're a human being. You're a regular person just like they are. You got a regular life. You're late because you had work or whatever it is that's going. Like, it's those things. Like, a lot of people would look at it like, what is this? What am I doing here? And all this, you don't even show up on time. And but it's those people that you're really not focused on. You're focused on the people that are here and they understand that you either had an important meeting today, or you had to go to a recital for one of your kids, or you're going for a job interview, or whatever it is. Like you share those things with them, and the people that matter and that really care about you remember it. And they're the ones that say happy birthday to you and how you doing and check up on you. And it's all those little things, but it's like it goes from being one person and it trickles to like a whole army of people that you don't even know exist, and they're just there at a second. Like you go one day like, I'm not gonna stream, who cares? And then you got 11 people in your inbox like, yo, what's going on? We didn't get the video.
Are you okay?
Exactly. And then it hits you like, wow, like okay, like one, people really care and they notice, and at the same time it's like, yo, like someone needs this for whatever reason it is, and it's a good feeling. It does get overwhelming sometimes, and I try to say don't think about it, because it's not that I have a million people or anything like that neither, but at the same time it's like even the handful that like hit you up or ask you about this and that, or how this is going and what's your next plan for this, like it gets to a point where you're like, all right, like people actually like what I'm doing and they actually care and they want to see more, and like so it gives you that fuel, that extra like gas that you need to just keep moving forward with it. And like
I think that's why I like streaming. I'm not great at video editing, and so I have tried to refine my process when it comes to recording videos, because on YouTube you have to have all three. You have to stream, you have to have videos, you have to have shorts in order to really keep pushing your channel out there, and it's a lot, right? I don't particularly enjoy editing, and so I'm trying to streamline my process so I can do everything in one take. I'm not, doing video and then recording a voiceover and then mashing that all together and then doing a music overlay. Like I'm really just trying to do it all at once so that I don't have all these hours invested into one video. Streaming for me though is that instant interaction with the people who are in my chat. I love streaming because you get that instant feedback from people. Say I'm building something in a game and I'm decorating, and I'll be like, I don't know which one to use here. What do y'all think? And then they'll give their input and they'll tell a story about, well, I used it in this and this is what I did. And it kind of creates this whole conversation. Whereas when you're just putting a video out there, they can comment on it, but it's not in real time. You don't get that one-on-one interaction. And so that's my favorite thing, the streaming. Now, I'm typically... I know y'all are going to be like, no, she's not. I actually am pretty introverted. The older I've gotten, the more introverted I am. And that doesn't mean I'm shy. It just means my social battery has a limit, And so I can't stream, even if I probably didn't work a job. I'm not sure I could stream every day for 4 or 5 hours at a time, because I get to a limit. I think that everybody has that. It's just in varying degrees. And mine, as the older I've gotten, the smaller it's gotten. So,
no, I agree with you.
I do enjoy that one-on-one, back and forth with the audience that you don't get in a video. So.
No, I like it also. I think there's something more personal about it too when it's on real time and you're there to respond and everything. Like it's me, sometimes I overthink and I struggle. Like I'm focusing on the conversation and everything, and there's so many people here in the chat, but at the same time they're interacting with each other and answering each other too. So I don't want you guys to think that we're ungrateful. We see you all here. Thank you, Sonny, for joining. Thank you, Nacho. Thank you, Robert, for kicking it.
Hey,
YouTube. Everybody, cease the game. I see you. Brofit, you're in here also. Megan, you're still in here talking to everybody also. I really appreciate all of you still hanging around.
I love that. I love watching them all talk with each other. Because in a lot of the games that I play, I'm really concentrated on what I'm doing, and I'm trying to like build this thing and like make it look right. And then I'll look over at chat and they're all having this great conversation. Exactly. I'm like, well, good. They're entertaining themselves. I don't need to do anything. I'm good.
Exactly. I overthink about it. And then like the more and more that this has been going on, like it went from just being 1 or 2 people in it, asking 1 or 2 things here and there, to then you just start seeing it going and you think like they're asking you things, and little do you know, they're talking amongst themselves, and they're like, but still, it's just great. I love things like that. Like from this is why I like applications like this and like X, and a lot of things are just on real time. YouTube also, I need to play around with that more too. This is my first time that I've had people really active in the YouTube chat, so it's coming up on here also.
Most of those people are from my channel.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, but it's a learning experience for me, because now I'm getting to see how it is when there's multiple things. Normally I just see the Twitch chat coming up, but like now it's a mix of everything, and it's weird to see because I haven't seen something like this before, but it's so
Yeah.
active, and it's so many people showing you love and support and saying hi, and they're talking to each other about video games and everything too, naming their favorites and what they played. Like, it's a bunch of stuff that I'm still trying to catch up on, but again, it's a thing that I enjoy the process. You start, the more and more that you really doing what you like, you enjoy the process, no matter how much time it takes, no matter how frustrated you get. Sometimes you find yourself going back into it the next day, and you keep going and going, and then you're just like this beast at it, and it's like nothing. Then you got people asking you, how did you do this? When did you
Right.
do that? What do you use? What light? What mic? What, and it's things like that. And you start getting into it. You start talking about things you actually care about with people who actually care about it, So
Right. Yeah. And for me, being, I was a child in the 80s and a teenager in the 90s, and girls didn't do a lot of, like, at least the people in my circle, gaming was for boys, right? Girls didn't do that. And so for the longest time, I didn't, if I wanted to play video games, I was either doing it by myself, a one player game, or playing with my brother, or playing with cousins or friends that were guys, because none of the girls in my life played video games. And so now here as an adult, playing video games, and I have this whole like swath of like women that also play now, and I was like, where were y'all when I was a kid? Because like I felt like a weirdo, and like people will look at me funny even now. Like, I'm 45 years old, and when I say, oh yeah, I like to play video games, and I don't really, like, at work and things like that, I don't tell anybody I have a YouTube channel because I don't need that kind of scrutiny from my coworkers. But like, when you tell people in everyday life, like, oh yeah, I like to play video games, sometimes they'll look at you like, aren't you a little old for that? Like, what? But the thing is there's so much about it. We were talking about the community of it all, but there's the relaxation. It's like some people, they like to go golfing. How's that different? Or some people like to crochet, or some people like to collect trading cards and organize them and alphabetize them and put them in cases. So like, I feel like everybody has their thing, and we shouldn't attach a gender or an age or any of that stuff to it, and I feel less judgment because now I'm around a bunch of people who are also very similar with as I am, and very interested in video games. And so I don't feel like such a weirdo old person playing video games. But it was one of the things about it for me is it was an escapism when I was a child. But then as I had my own family, I would play with my kids. In fact, I remember there were many instances where we would sit and play Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess and Mario Kart and, Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, and just had the best times and a lot of great memories. And I'm sure if Megan's still in the Twitch, she would agree that there's a lot of their childhood where we all played games together. And I didn't have that with my parents. They would never have played a video game in a million years. Are you kidding? Like, board games, maybe, but so I feel like it's been a good bonding experience as a family, but then also it's, like I said, it's opened me up to a million relationships, and I'm really appreciative that I found sort of my people, because I feel like I found a lot of people in my age bracket and older. In fact, Sunny, if she's still in the Twitch, she's one of my best friends, and she's, old enough to be my mother, but I don't see her that way. She's my buddy who I play video games with. And I think it's so amazing that so many of these women that I've befriended, they're older than me and they're more into it than I am. And I love that. That gives me so much hope that the older I get, the cooler I'm going to be.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's the effect of it also. And yes, Sonny's still here. And then we also have Robert saying that he's saying, hi, Sarah, I'm 50 and I'm still playing games. So Nacho Classic, your daughter's in here too. She said that playing video games, you guys play video games so many times, so many video games growing up together, and it's some of her best memories.
Yeah, that was kind of like our family thing, like some people do board game nights. We would do Nintendo like console gaming together as a family, and their dad was never really big into it, but he liked to watch, us play and have a good time. And I think it's, it's one of those things that, I'm glad I was able to impart that with my kids. And it's something we actually just, my youngest daughter turned 16 a couple weeks ago, and we had like a big family thing here at my house, just the 5 of us, and we played video games all afternoon for her birthday, kind of as a throwback, because my 2 older children have moved out and left home, and so it's just the youngest, and it was a nice time to come together and bond as a family and play these games that we hadn't played in years. So it was very nostalgic and reminiscent, and also just a good way to hang out for the day. So yeah, I for me, it's played a big role in my life, both as my childhood and in my adult life with my kids, and now with all these friends that I've made. So
I love that. I love the fact that you actually like still do that with the kids and everything. I play, like, it's weird. Like, the technology is so different now. Like, I try to play games. The only one who really like plays games with me, and like even when I'm not with them because I co-parent, but me and my son are always jumping on to play Fortnite. I used to hate Fortnite. You don't understand. I just hated it. I refused to ever download it. But then my son, he's like, we got to play together. So I'm like, all right, me thinking he's going to be like every other little kid that wants to play Call of Duty. Nope, he wants to be on Fortnite. And I'm like, okay, this has definitely a bigger attraction, and I understand why he chose that over Call of Duty. But it's like I went from hating the game to like I fell in love with it, only because of the fact I played with him so much that I just became second nature, and I started learning everything. And the more and more that I got into it, like we just bond more over that. Like, we'll be here in person and we're fine, but we communicate so much more and better while we're talking to each other via chat for whatever reason while we're playing Fortnite. Like, it's just weird. Sometimes we'll be in the lobby, and he'll just be going through skins and show me his collection of skins that doesn't end, and then tells me the story, and he swears he remembers the date and the time and the reason and why. And I'm like, really? Okay, all right. And or if I go over to his house and we're over there, like, I'll watch him play for hours and hours. But it's a thing like that that's, like you say, it brings nostalgia. And like I wasn't able to do that with my parents.
Yeah.
But it's different now, because it's like I could do that now with my son because he's into that. My daughter, she's into the whole VR thing. So she's in her own world.
Okay.
She's in her room, jumping around. And I'm like, well, how do you know where everything is? Oh, I made a layout and I drew a grid. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying at this point. Like, I just pick up a remote and look at the screen. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's a good exercise. And if I ever need to fight ninjas, and if I like, she has a million excuses and all these different, but she's into that, and I can't play that. That gives me a headache. Like, I like the regular games, like
just regular games. Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I'm more sedentary. Let me just sit here and do some stuff rather than like jump around. I used to be a console gamer, strictly consoles, right? There was a brief period there in the late 90s and early 2000s where I was playing PC games, like all the Blizzard games, Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo. And then I transitioned more back into console gaming after that little hiatus. And then here in the last 3 years, I've really gotten back into PC gaming. In fact, I haven't really played on a console hardly at all since then, and I play all my games through Steam for the most part. And what I love about PC gaming and Steam is that you have access to all these different types of games, and the price point is so much more affordable. Like, let's face it, a lot of Nintendo games are like 60, 70, $80 now. And that's really, it's getting expensive, and is the playability there? Is it worth that much money? That kind of thing. You have to go through all that. So many of the games that I play on PC through Steam are very economical. They're like $20, $25, sometimes $15. There's one game that I play called Palia. It's free to play. Now they have things you can buy, cosmetic things in the game. That's how they generate their money. And I think that having access to that kind of thing is, I had really limited myself with console games before because that's expensive. And now, with PC gaming, I have this huge library of games that I've got because Steam has these sales like every few months, and you can get these amazing games for a fraction of the cost versus, shelling out, I think it was almost $70 for Tears of the Kingdom or whatever it was. Like, and not that I don't love it, but it's like you would have to really ration how many games you could buy. Yes. Because it's so expensive versus with a PC. Now, I realize not everybody has access to a computer, and a console is way easier. And I totally get it. And for me, that was the case for the longest time because as a photographer, I had all Mac products. I had Apple computer and MacBook and all that. And as y'all know, that there's very few games that are compatible with a Mac.
That's the issue.
So I wouldn't play on my computer because they didn't make games for that really. And so, But yeah, I would definitely encourage anybody who's like really looking into a more economical way to play video games. If you have a computer, getting Steam and like getting some of the, you can get so many games. Some of them are like they offer them for free on Steam during a sale or like 99 cents. I mean, you can just it blew my mind because I was so used to console games and the price of console games. And then I come over to PC and I'm like, I can buy 4 games for the price of one. Like, what? It's crazy. So that's another thing I really enjoy about this world too. And there's so many games that I never would have necessarily been on my radar that I get, people will come in my chat and be like, hey, have you heard about this game that's coming out? And be like, no, let me go Google that real quick and be like, well, that looks really cool. That looks right up my alley. And so it's expanded my horizon too in the types of games I would play versus, 5 years ago when I was like, no, I'm just going to play this, this is what I like, and not really branching out too much. So
yeah, I think that helps also. That's one thing that I really don't like. Like, you would think that because everything is mostly a digital download nowadays when it comes to console stuff, that the prices would be a lot more reasonable because they don't have to worry about manufacturing the CDs and putting out and like it going to waste if no one buy there's none of that. So that should really lower the cost, and still it's like it's doubled. Like, yes, you understand the graphics and designing and all that, but it's like what you said, like you have to weigh the thing of whether it's worth it or not. Is the game replayable? Is it a one-time thing? Are you even really gonna like it? Is it like, so it's things like that you have to take into consideration when you're buying a game that, like you said, for the same price you can go online and just for a little bit of money and investing in the proper computer, like really it would pay off in the sense of what you're going to be saving, how many games you can get.
And I used to play only like what they call AAA games, the big titles, that consoles would come out with. And since PC gaming, I've looked at a lot more indie developers for games. And like that game I was talking about earlier, Dinkum, that's kind of, given me this entire wonderful community of mine. That game is a single developer. He developed that game over the course of like 4 or 5 years, put it in early access, and has had, and now I do some beta testing whenever he's got a new update that's about to come out. I get a key and I can do beta testing now for him, along with a bunch of other people. But that's another aspect of it that I would have been allowed to do if I still played only on consoles, because with PCs, you get these developers, sometimes just indie developers that are just one guy in his house developing this game, and he needs people to test it out for him, or he's going to release it, but then he's going to work on it and continue to work on it as the game is out. And then, I think he's going to do full access, hopefully, I think soon-ish in the next, 6 months or so. And it's just really beautiful to watch that process and be kind of part of the, not in the middle of it, but sort of in the peripheral of it. And like, hey, I tested that part out and oh, I found this bug and he fixed it. And, things like that. So it's, you get to play a very, very small role in this game and its development, which I think is really cool.
I really love that also. Hold on, what's going on? Someone just did something and I'm new to this, so I'm kind of there's a hype train going on. This is my first time experience.
Oh, yay, look at that.
So thank you. And we got five gifted subs from, hold on, I'm trying to read it now. Anonymous gifted. Okay,
thanks, Anonymous.
Great. Thank you, Anonymous.
That is awesome, dude. Congratulations.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is all because of you, because you are really, really amazing. Like, you're hitting. I'm really thinking like, yo, she's looking at all my questions that I have here, because you're literally going from one thing after another on my list. And I'm like, how is she literally doing this? So I'm like trying to pick.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I also used to host a podcast.
So yeah, you already know the gist.
I kind of know how to do this, but don't let that deter you from asking me questions that that you want to ask, because
I want to make sure.
I just like vomit out words.
No, but that's the thing. You're hitting everything. Like I tried to plan it out in the sense of if I ask this, then let me ask this after, because it's a follow up. And literally, you're doing the same exact thing. So I'm like, oh, this is crazy. I don't know. And it's weird because you look off to the side and it looks like you're looking at my notes. So I'm like, how is she doing?
Oh, I'm looking at the chat.
It's bugging me out. I'm like, all right, this is getting weird now. But it's great though, because you hit a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of things that I know. One, I'm curious of knowing, because of the fact, like I mentioned, you clearly have way more experience in this. I say that I've been streaming in a sense for over a good amount of years, but it was never consistently. The whole consistent thing didn't really hit me. What my mistake was is that when I first started trying to do any content, my idea was I wanted to do everything because, again, being a Gary Vee fan, everything is like do your own videos and record your own stuff and come up with your own script, and you gotta. And the more and more I kept overthinking of that, I'm like, yo, I have no one to work with. I have no one to record me. I don't know how to record. I don't know what I'm supposed to say in the way. Like, I would overthink so much about the algorithm. I was always worried about the lighting and the background. And like right now, my background is just a regular CGI, like just because I would always overthink if there's too much light, if I have anything cool in the background, if I don't, in the sense. So I would over stress about all those things that honestly, like you mentioned, it doesn't matter. It's about making the content and being yourself and being true to yourself and showing you care about it. And I didn't think of that. So in the beginning, like I would always stream like once every other month. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I got this mysterious thing going on. And they're wondering what I'm up to. Meanwhile, not anybody. I got 2 followers. One is me and one is the actual site that I'm subscribed on. And I'm like, yeah, they're wondering what, like, and the more and more I started getting on it just because I just felt like streaming, and you start learning little things. And then the more better that you get at learning those little things, you start attracting these different people that you wouldn't have attracted before. And it's like just from the way that you talk and the way that you have your setup and the way that you got everything, like it shows you have experience. It shows that you've taken the time to think and analyze about how it looks, the colors of things you're using, things that are in your background, think like all of those things. Like it all goes to show that it didn't just come like one day you just hopped on and you got it. It takes time to notice those things and to do. No one else might notice, but me, it's like I noticed everything in your background right away because, again, like I mentioned, look at mine. Like that's the first thing I'm always gravitated to. But that's just me. There's a lot of people that when they watch streams or they watch content, they're not even focused on that. They don't even care. Some of them don't even like want to see them. They just want to see what they're doing and see the game.
Well, there's quite a few streamers that I follow. They don't do a face cam at all. They're just playing the game. And so, you know, for some people, there's a lot of anxiety of putting your face on the internet. For me, it was very important to do a face cam because I felt like even though I can't see the people who are watching me, it felt more like a connection. You know, they could see me. I couldn't see them necessarily, but they could see my face. They can see my inflection. It felt more intimate in a way. You know, not everybody has to make that choice. In fact, I get why some people don't want that. Totally fine. For me, that was just a very important aspect of it. And I'm really not even sure exactly why I could pinpoint that, other than I've kind of connected more with the streamers that I admire who have a face cam. When I can see them, it just feels more real. And the person I say is my mentor is his name is Cans, or Cans Alone. That's the name of his channel. I started watching him like day 3 of his Dinkum content. I was like voraciously doing searches on YouTube, like Dinkum content, or Dinkum Islands, whatever it was, whatever I was searching. And he popped up. And I think when I started watching him, and I think I was telling my chat the other night, he only had like 7,000 subscribers. And I say only 7,000 because he's like very close to, I think, 50,000 right now. And he's done that in the last 2 years. And Dinkum really blew him up. And I was in his chat every single day. I used to work from home, so I could kind of put a YouTube stream on and have that going while I did some work. And I would chat with everybody in his community, and what got to be like friends with these people. And so when I decided to start my channel, I did reach out to him, and he was very gracious and gave me lots of information. Some people gatekeep that stuff. Or like, well, they think of you as competition, but he has not been that way. And no one else really in the community has ever given me that impression. They've always answered my questions. Oh yeah, do this. Don't use that over there. That's crap. It didn't work for me. And that was really very appreciative because I'm just a complete noob. And I also didn't want to step on their toes, so I was like, okay, when did they have videos come out? Okay, I won't put a video out during that same time. Yes. When are they streaming? I'm not going to stream at the same time with them, because I felt deference towards all of them for kind of giving me, they're like, here, let's part the Red Sea just a little bit for this new person who's coming in. And I was very, very grateful for that welcome. So Cans was a big influence for me. And to this day, we still chat. He's gotten huge. I think 50,000 subscribers is a big deal. And he rated one of my streams. And I I cried on the internet so everybody could see, but I also had like a panic attack because I was like, all of a sudden I had like 200 or 300 people in my chat. I was like, oh my God.
It gets
And
overwhelming.
and he did that because he was like, he likes to kind of pay it forward. He was like, and it was very, very generous of him to bring his community over. And a lot of those people I had known for years anyway, from the other content creator, Tagback TV, who was the Animal Crossing. He was what got me through Animal Crossing in the pandemic. And I had met so many people through his channel. And now he's got like 1 million subscribers, which is, I think, what we all would, aspire to have at one point in the future. But whenever I started watching him in March of 2020, he had about 100,000 subscribers. And now he's got almost 1 million. So in just the last few years, I've watched these people blow up. And I know it wasn't easy. Because I watched the struggle. Cans does a lot of vlogging and personal videos for his members. And so I would hear, the struggle to get to a certain place, or the financial difficulty that it put his family in for him to follow this dream that he had and stop working full time so he could pursue it. And it was really cool to see. You get to see these little like insights into people's lives. And there's some of the other people in the community who've started just a little bit before I did, just watching them also build out and get that encouragement. Everybody's just so kind. They'll hop around to different streams. Hey, how's it going? I'm going to leave a like, because that really does help in the YouTube algorithm. They can't stay, but people have lives, I get it. They're like, oh, I can't stay for the whole thing. They got things going on, but they'll come in and they'll always try to say hi. They'll try to leave a like. They'll share the video. They'll, like something in Discord that I posted. And it's been very encouraging to have all that support and to have these people who've had so much experience, so many years of experience, being willing to give me advice and talk with me, when I have questions. And there's some of the people in this YouTube community that are very technically oriented. And I've reached out to them and be like, hey, how can I do this better? Because I feel like this is not good, and getting, being open to constructive criticism from other people, because sometimes we get really defensive when it's something that we've put a lot of time and effort and heart into. But if you want to make it better, you kind of have to set that ego aside a little and go, how can I do better? And then to go ask people, hey, I feel like I'm not doing this great. What could I do better? And then being open to receiving the information, because they'll be like, oh yeah, I noticed this in the stream. Maybe do this in this setting and it'll help with that, and not take that kind of stuff personally, because you want to put out quality content. You want the people watching to have the best experience possible. And I think it just opens you up to learning things too, so that you can do it better. And if somebody comes and asks you, you can pass that information on.
100%. That's the thing that I love. I love not only just the communicating with people and getting to know each other better, but the whole thing of finding people that are willing to share their firsthand experiences so that you can learn it, because they see that you care about it or have a passion for it like they do. They don't want to see you repeat the same mistakes that they did. Yeah. And that's like a big thing. It's hard to find. It's, for whatever reason, in real life, it's hard to find people like that just randomly. But when it comes online, it's not that difficult, because I feel like, again, a lot of people gravitate online to find things that they need help understanding, and it just leads them down that rabbit hole. Well, I never expected to be a part of any community such as VeeFriends or to be streaming online or anything. I always looked at it and it was entertaining. But again, I always thought I couldn't do it. I thought I didn't have the experience, the equipment, or the knowledge, or whatever. And then the more and more you just start getting into it and just becoming a fan, you start wanting to try those things out yourself. And then the little steps you take, you start realizing, you know what, I could do this. It's not that hard. But it's also the same thing of being patient. Being patient is, like you mentioned before, having the consistency. When you're patient and you have the consistency, it goes to adding to whatever it is you're trying to do, and it actually comes in fruition, and you start meeting all these people that have the same passions as you, and it builds into this big thing where it's just bigger than just a hobby, and it becomes like another part of your life that you really care about. And it's just,
if I didn't have this, I would feel a void. This last year's been pretty rough. This last couple of years have been pretty rough on a personal level, and having this as sort of an anchor in my life has been life-saving. And I don't say that, to be hyperbolic. It pretty much just gave me a purpose that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And again, it's opened me up to a whole community of people and given me a family, in a sense, that I haven't really had since I was in high school. And have your group of friends that you hang out with, and when I saw Cans doing the streaming, what made me gravitate towards him and just the possibility of me doing it for myself wasn't because I wanted to be some famous person on YouTube. I could care two beans about that. It was more, I want to have friends. I want to have this family. I want to have this community. And not that I didn't have that as a participant, but I felt like I had something to say or something to share. I had ideas that I could put out there for other people to see. And I got, compliments when I would post pictures of my designs or whatever. And so I was like, well, maybe people would be interested in watching me do this too, and maybe not, but it'll be fun and it'll be this interesting journey one way or the other,
Exactly.
and find out one more thing that might not work, but I had fun trying it out, and it's been more successful than I ever could have imagined. And it makes me want to do it better and branch out and add on. And, but like we were saying, you got to do it one step at a time, because if you take it all in, it'll overwhelm you. It's like a tsunami crashing down on you if you try to do everything all at once. And so I worked up to being able to do videos and shorts and streams all at the same time, because I was not good at it in the beginning. And I might argue that I'm not so great at it now, but I try not to overly criticize too my video production, because it's like, I just need to get content out there. It's a good video. Is it the greatest video? Probably not, but it might inspire somebody. Somebody might take that idea and be like, oh, that's exactly what I needed to do this on my thing over here. Thanks for that. And that's worth it. Even if only one or two people gain something from it. For me, the time I invested made that worth it. So,
I agree with you. That it's a big thing for me as well. When you start, you get into these things and it's your thing. You really forget that you're not thinking about, again, being a YouTube star or an Instagram model or anything like that. Everything is just, you're doing it because you enjoy it, and you're utilizing these social media applications to do exactly what they were originally created for, was to be social. And you're using what you enjoy and what you're good at to share with people a more personal side of who you are, so they get a better idea of you as a person. Like, a lot of people don't use it for that no more. Everything now, like I mentioned, is like everyone needs to have a social media presence, because all of them, everything is a brand now. Everything is, you got to sell this and
a
buy
side
that.
hustle.
Exactly. And then like when you come across people, and to some people it blows their mind that there's someone that streams every single day. Maybe not once a week, but he does it every day, or she does it every day. And then they come across them and like, yo, no one even watches. Why are they like, doesn't matter. It's what they like doing. While they're streaming, whatever they're streaming, or whether they're talking about something or doing something or playing a game, they're doing what they enjoy and they're sharing it with someone. And you came across it, you didn't care, but there's going to be one person that does, or even a group of people that come across it that need it that day, that aren't able to play the game that they're playing, that aren't able to ride the motorcycle or the car or go into the house that they're in, or have the skill to design the things that they're designing in the game. Like all those things, like there's many different reasons. Maybe it's not even any of that. Maybe they're calm. Like, the one thing that really blows my mind to this day, I don't get it. I think it's witchcraft. I don't care what anyone says. It's ASMR. ASMR is definitely some type of like voodoo witchcraft. Like, I don't get it. Some of it sounds annoying, and then there's other parts that when I see it, I start falling asleep, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, and I still can't wrap my head around it. But it's things like that I know people like watching. There's other videos that I see people like, they make Jello or like ooze, and I see a gazillion views, and I'm like, in my mind, the first thing is like, who the hell would watch this? And then at the same time, my answer is right in front of my face. There's 100 million people that want to watch it. Like, and
that's the thing that I also take in, and then like, I'm not being very entertaining. Nobody's going to want to watch this. And it's like, but they're just like what you just described. There's stuff like that out there that has thousands of views. So it's like, you never know when something's going to pop off. Right. So like, put it out there. Who knows? Somebody might really enjoy that part. Somebody told me early on, there's this feature in Dinkum where you can mow. And I don't know if anybody out there watching right now on Twitch or YouTube has ever watched the TikTok videos of this guy who goes up to houses that are really overgrown and he just mows for free.
Yes.
Right. And somebody said, you should do a parody of that. And so I really do need to do that, because I think he's like a SB mowing out. And then he just does this mowing. And it's literally just videos of him mowing and like weed eating and like blowing leaves and things around. And you're like, why is this entertaining? And yet every time I come across one of those videos, I will stop and watch it. Like a psycho.
You don't know why. The one that would get me every time, but it'd always be at like 2, 3 in the morning, would be those two dudes in the middle of the forest making freaking castles in the dirt or building a boat out of like, and in my head, I'm like, what are these idiots doing? Like what? And then you just get caught into it. They start from digging this little hole to the next thing you know, they're like an asshole. And they got like all these.
Interesting. Except we're all watching it. We're all just like, I guess there's a satisfaction in watching that happen. And it's the same with the mowing. It's the same with those guys digging in the dirt, building these like elaborately dirt hut, cabins. You're just like, there's a satisfaction in watching the progression of that. But it's also mind-boggling. Because, you think about all these things that are on like Netflix and HBO and Hulu that are like super produced.
To this,
and like there are more people watching these TikTok videos of this dude mowing than there are people watching Game of Thrones.
Exactly. It's crazy. And then when you think about it also, it's like the length of these videos are so short that we're literally just going from one thing to another. So it's because
we all have ADHD, really, and we can't. Our attention spans are really little.
Exactly, and but it's crazy at the thought that even though it's just for a short amount of time, the things that have captured our attention, and even while we're watching, in the back of our minds, we're like, "Yo, what are you doing? Like, just change the channel, switch, swipe up. Like, what are you watching?" And you're still there, like, "Yeah, but maybe something different." Like, it'll be such a predictable video, but still, you watch. You watch, you already know the line by heart. You can already tell what's going to happen next. You know the bomb is going to blow up, the car is going to crash, like, and still you're there like, oh, let me watch it because it might be different the 100th time. Like, it's going
to be the same thing, but for whatever reason, it's like those, and this may gross some people out, but those pimple popping videos from Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yes, I hate that.
They're disgusting, but like it's like a train wreck I cannot look away from, and you're like, why is this appealing? It's like somebody was saying earlier, it's a satisfying thing to watch. Even if it's disgusting, like
I can't.
Or you're like, no, that's I draw the line.
But it's even things like that, or you seeing things like they have like videos even on TV. Like, it's crazy how they try to transition the stuff from TV that I remember growing up with, like Teen Mom and like the dating shows and all that, and they put it online. But like they'll have the smaller, like they have the one where people line up and if you walk in a line and if they don't like you, they pop a balloon or something, like all these weird different things. Or if not, they got the random people in the street asking questions. Like, it's random people and they're asking you personal questions, or let's swap phones, and like risking marriages and relationships over some content. Like, that was never thought of like before. So it's like seeing it now and seeing it to the point that everybody and their mother has a phone. My kids have a tablet and a phone, and my son is 8 and he's on his tab and he knows more stuff than I can figure out to do on my phone. Like, my daughter has her own phone and she's in her own world and with VR and jumping around. And so it's like all this different stuff is going on. And in my mind, I'm like, it's just crazy how we went from thinking like TV was going to be just TV, or even video games were going to, I didn't expect it to be on a TV. I always thought it was going to be like just handheld things, and it wasn't possible to do it the other way, let alone for it to be in color. When Game Boy Color came out, I lost my mind.
I know, right?
What is this magic? Like, but I fell in love with it. It's those things that when I started seeing that progression and the way that it evolves, it makes me wonder even more, like with the way technology is and the way gaming is, everything is about socializing in some way, shape, or form and communicating, even if it's just to hate each other for certain things. We all find a way to use the internet and social media for that. And then when you look at gaming was way before social media was a thing. Gaming is where people were cursing each other out and all this in the lobby and all these different stuff, or even having regular conversations and sending either voice notes or DMs via like the chat or something. Like, that was the first way that I remember before MySpace and Facebook and all that. Like, I would do things like that to communicate with people, or use like AIM. But now it's like you start seeing this evolving of technology and everything, and the way people socialize with each other. There's, like you mentioned before, there's more people that meet, before they meet online, as far as communities and like social media, they meet playing video games, and it transitions over to that. And then you start building this community of people that are just collectively gathering together just because you wanted to play a game and put on a camera, you know?
Well, we started playing Diablo online. You know, it can be played. I think nowadays you can just play it by yourself, but it was a massive multi-online game. You know, massive multiplayer online game where you go into these servers and you'd play with all these people from everywhere. And that was my first like foray into playing with other people on the internet. I'd never done that before. I'd only ever played on a console, and so that's self-contained to your one unit or the people who were in your house with you. And we met people on through that game and then went and met them in person where they lived and like had this great friendship for the longest time because you know the internet opened that possibility up and hadn't been a thing before that. You know, it was very, very new. You know, Blizzard with Diablo and Warcraft and Starcraft, you know, were these online games that you could actually interact with people. And like you said, there's some negative aspects about it because there was a lot of nastiness and people would come in and steal your stuff if you died, and so you had to really be careful who you befriended. But it was interesting even back then, and now because technology is so much more sophisticated than it was 25 years ago, that you know you can instantaneously talk with people so much easier. So before when I had that experience, that you would just have like a chat room, kind of like with a YouTube stream right now. There was a chat, people could chat, but there was no voice. Well, now because of Discord or different games that have in-game chat, you can actually use your voice and speak to somebody who's halfway across the world, and you're playing a game with them, and you're no longer just chatting in a chat room, which is elevated the experience too, because when you can hear somebody's voice and see their face, you know, it feels like a real connection versus just words on a page, you know.
100%, I agree with you. And another thing, being that you mentioned chat and stuff, I don't know, again, I'm not, I used to be really into Discord, and I stopped because it just became a thing that was just becoming way too overwhelming. Like every community in the Web3 space or anything like that, combined with if you're trying to follow a content creator that does stuff like streaming, like it gets overwhelming. So I kind of like stopped from that. But what I did see recently is how apparently Discord is going to be combining with any of the new consoles or whatever also. So now it's going to be like an option where you can use while you're gaming. So it's like things like that. It goes
making
to show
it easier.
Like, exactly. It's making it more accessible right there in front of your face, where it's like little right now, there's probably not a lot of people that use Discord, like in the sense of that use consoles. But now it's going to give them an excuse to go down that rabbit hole and start learning Discord and what they could do there. And that, so it just starts getting crazier and crazier the more that it evolves. But I like that. I like it's more excuses for people to connect with each other in different ways, not just verbally.
And you don't have to be a gamer to utilize that. You know, I've seen 100%. People have Discords for like similar interests, you know, people who are big book lovers. There's book clubs all over Discord. You know, if you're a big book lover, I love to read. It's one of my things. I haven't really joined any of the book clubs on Discord, but there are any photography, videography, hunting, fishing. Like there's a niche for everyone, and you can connect with other people who also like those things, you know, and Discord makes it easy to be able to voice chat with people, you know, chat with them. It's all kind of in one place. But you can do other things too. But I do feel like that experience, being able to, hey, you know, I'm playing with 3 or 4 people and we're playing in this multiplayer game and we can all just hang out and chat and talk to each other rather than sit there and try to type back and forth, because that's so time consuming, especially when you're trying to play the game and you want to have a conversation. You have to stop playing, get on your keyboard, type, and then go back to playing and then stop, you know, and it's just so much more of a flow. It's so much more efficient when you can just chat with people while you play.
Exactly. It becomes a second nature. You're able just to glance over, you see stuff, and then it just starts building up to a point where you just become a beast at it. And it's like all the things you overthought about. At first, you were probably overthinking about your light or your camera or your sound. Little do you know, like that's nothing now. Now it doesn't even matter if you have a camera or not. You're on. You're streaming. You're playing. You know what you got to do, and it's a thing that I love. But through the conversation so far, you shared a lot of stuff that you went through as far as experiencing your whole journey and growing and getting to the level that you are now, reaching 800 subscribers on YouTube, getting to your anniversary, and also your birthday is next week, correct?
Well, my birthday's in 2 weeks, but we're going to combine the channel anniversary and birthday into one thing. So
Yes. Well, a happy early birthday,
thank you.
and congratulations on the milestone that you have reached on YouTube and
I
building the
appreciate that.
community. Everyone here, I'm telling you right now, I've never had my stuff this crazy. So we got 10 people here on Twitch, we got 3 people on YouTube, we got 33 people on X watching and tuning in and jumping in and out of the chat, going crazy. We had a follow train earlier, thanks to I'm so upset I can't see the person's name. It just says anonymous, and I know it's not a follower named Anonymous. So that's so whoever
They
did
wanted
that,
to do a good deed and not get recognized for it.
exactly. So thank you so much. They gifted 10 gifted subs, 5 people got on it.
That's awesome.
And so thank you all so much for tuning in, for showing love. I really appreciate it. And I hope I'm reading that right. If I did it wrong and you did a lot more, I'm so sorry. I'm still new to this, and I'm like on. This is what sucks. I'm using StreamYard, and again, this is like what you learn when you're using stuff, and you learn it on the fly. One thing that's really annoying is when you're using all these other third-party applications, you don't get to see the actual notifications that are on those other websites. So it's like I'm bouncing from here to my phone and trying to make sure I don't miss nothing. But anyway, with all of that stuff being said, you've had experience in a little bit of everything, doing your own content, learning how to perfect things from how you sound, what it's looking like, picking the game that you found brings the people that you're trying to build a community with. Like, what do you feel were some misconceptions that either you had or other people have about live streaming that you learned from doing live streaming, or from your experience, or that you've learned from other people who helped you get over those like little milestones also as well?
That's a good question. I think people think it's a lot more intimidating than it really is. I mean, I've been streaming since last September, I think is when I started, early September. So like we're going on 7 or 8 months now, and 8 months, no, longer than that, 9 months. It's June. Yeah, I can't count. And obviously it was a rough start. You've got a lot of working components. You've got all these things covering your screens that you're kind of watching. But once you get used to it, it is probably significantly easier in that sense than people think. It's more just finding your rhythm, So I feel like a lot of people are very intimidated. Well, you can get on Facebook or Instagram and go live without any of this crap. Like you can just, or X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I'm sorry. I'm old. You can go live on any of those platforms without a streaming software. So you don't have to have all these things that, you and I use to get our stuff out there. It can be significantly more basic than that. And I feel like people, oh no, that's just, there's too many things. And it really does seem like that at first. But once you get into it, it's actually, once you get everything set up, that's the hardest part. The hardest part is getting things set up and learning where certain things go. YouTube is a little more difficult than Twitch, from what I've been told. So there's, figuring out where all those things go. But once you get it done, it's really just pushing a button. And you're done, you're live. So, getting over that hurdle, it's significantly easier than people think. Now, obviously you've got to, like I said, you've got to find your rhythm. You're playing a game. In my case, I'm playing a game. I'm having to read chat and engage, talk to them, build this elaborate thing that I'm building, and, still try to be funny or conversational. Although I've watched streams where people don't talk at all and they're just building, and I feel like one of the things that I'm trying to challenge myself is it's okay to have some silent time. Let the chat talk. I don't have to talk the entire time, but there's that anxiety you start to feel like it's a little too quiet. I should probably say something, that you got to fill the silence. And I definitely tend to be a person in real life, when I'm having a conversation with somebody, to fill the silence, and I feel like that's another thing that's a misconception. You can have silent times. People are not going to just leave because you're quiet. They're watching what you're doing. Maybe they appreciate that you're not talking for a minute. They can just absorb what they're seeing without having to listen to, So that's another thing I think, is that it really, it's not as intimidating. Once you get past those initial hurdles, It's actually pretty easy. It's literally just like sitting down and having a conversation with a friend. And what could be easier than that? So that would be my answer, I think, that's coming to mind right off the top of my head. Another thing might be the imposter syndrome that you kind of start to feel a little bit like once I got memberships, because on YouTube you have to have 500 subscribers and so many watch hours. I think with Twitch to become an affiliate, it's a lot faster.
Yeah.
But once I hit that milestone and people started like buying memberships and super chatting and all that stuff, I felt like, this is weird. I don't know. What am I doing? Like people are paying me money. Like what? Yeah. Why? Like, Sunny's saying, you definitely talk too much. Don't listen.
No. Yeah.
She's my friend. She likes to give me a hard time. But yeah, that I knew that was a goal I was trying to get to, and people wanted to be members on my channel and they wanted to be able to super chat. But at the same time, there was just that little bit of cringe, like, why are people paying me for this? Like, you know what I mean? So there's that imposter syndrome thing that kind of goes on too, that I don't think you anticipate to the level that you get it at, or at least I didn't. I was thinking, yeah, okay, it'll be fine. And then when it happened and all these people started signing up for membership, I was like, now I've got to have a whole other level of content for people who are members, and then that sends you into a panic. Like I thought it was going to take longer than it did. So I didn't prepare anything ahead of time. And then was scrambling once I made affiliate to have all the things you needed to be able to do that. And so I would say anticipate that earlier than you think.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think about too. I'm always stressing like, oh, I need to have this, have that. And then at the same time, like I haven't even reached this status of this or these goals on this. Like, so why am I worried about it? And then there's nights that out of nowhere, like people like tonight, they'll just subscribe. And now I'm like, damn, I got to make sure like they paid for something. I wasn't. And that's the thing, like the subscription thing is there. And I really don't, it hasn't really hit me like that yet because I wasn't really intending on doing anything for like a profit type of thing. But I'm like, all right, now I gotta like try to think of something to do with whatever money I do get with it in a way that adds value to this or like supports other people or brings them something more than just saying, okay, we just gave this person money or we just like.
And here's the thing that people have told me, and maybe this will help you. I'm still trying to work through it myself. So, it's a journey for all of us. But I've had some of my closest friends, and Sunny can hopefully attest to this. She's like, I want to pay to support you. I don't really care if I'm getting anything out of it. I like you. I like your content. I want to support you and the things that you were doing. So I don't care if I get some special thing as a member. I want to do this to be just a part of the process with you. And so I think that's how people mostly feel. They I pay money to all these YouTube channels, sometimes it's the smallest amount, for their subscriber amount, but like, I would just want to be like, hey, I support you. This is me saying I like what you do. And I don't have to get anything from it. In fact, most of the time, I don't even join members only streams or watch members only content because I don't have time, first of all. But I don't feel like I'm not getting my value. But when it comes to me and I'm the one on the receiving end of it, it's like, I got to give them all the things, exactly. And they're not thinking that way, and so I'm getting there slowly but surely. I'm getting there.
Yeah, no, like it hasn't really happened yet. Like, but when like things like this happen, like I start getting in the thing where I'm like, all right, now I got to make sure I'm putting out like more stuff and I'm more consistent. I'm more like Megan was in the chat talking about how she's gonna put up her tarot card reading schedule for her live stream, and in my head I was like, I don't even have a schedule. Like I just go on whenever someone says that they're able to go on, and I'm there. That's it. Like. So it's things like that I know it helps and it plays a major part in the growth of everything. But again, it's like you're saying, it's like when you get to those levels and those steps, that's when you get the firsthand experience. And that's when it starts really sinking in like, all right, you got to do this. You got to learn that. You didn't expect it. And you're thinking like, all right, it's just good. I'm having fun. And then I don't want pow, 800 followers and subscribers. And then pow, it's your anniversary. Like, you get what I'm saying? So
it's it's been crazy. And like, I had somebody come in one night and gift 50 memberships. Now I have my gifted membership tier set relatively low, but still that was a lot of money. That was like $100. And I was like, that's so generous. And like, back when I had a better paying job, I would do that from time to time. I would drop a, $50 super chat, or I would gift, 20 memberships or something. I can't financially afford to do that right now at this stage in my life. Like I did before, but like, I don't, and I don't think people realize, for those of us on the receiving end of it, just how much that means to especially for me. You know, I guess I should only speak for myself, but because like money is tight for a lot of people. The economy is crap. Things are expensive. We're not making enough to cover all the bills. And so for them to spend even little amounts, like $5, I'm just blown away anytime anybody spends a little amount. So when somebody came in my chat and gifted 50 memberships, I lost my mind. I like started crying. I was like, oh my God. Like, you know, obviously that's not going to happen every single time.
Exactly.
And I don't ever expect it. Whenever it happens, it's like a shock. And the little Stream Elements like notification sound goes off, and I'm looking over there going, wait, what? Who did what? What's happening right now? Because it's like, you know, I don't do it for the money, you know, although that's a nice side benefit. And it would be, and once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I can actually get ad revenue. So that's going to be nice. Because I've got 335 videos on my channel that could be generating some ad revenue, which would be nice, you know, just to have a little extra, you know, something. But again, it's not about the money. And, you know, I do have special things in my members only stuff, like very personal private vlogs, or like I said, car trips or experiences that I've gone on, or like me sitting down and telling a story about my life or this experience that I had. But I also do like members only game nights where they come in and we play like multiplayer games together, and they get one-on-one time with me. But I don't want people to feel like they have to pay for my friendship either. So that even on regular streams, I'll have people who aren't members like, hey, come over and play or whatever, because everybody's at a different place financially to be able to help. They want to, but they maybe can't because of situations. I don't want anyone to feel left out because of that. But there are people paying me lots of money every month, and I want them to feel like they're getting a little something in return, a little 100%. Piece of my life. So, you know, it's a weird line to walk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing that I think about also when you know, when I first saw PR ask her about her struggle bus.
Yeah, she said, I need gas money for the struggle bus. This one here is a comedian, I'll tell you what.
Like, hold on, what's going on? So yeah, see, you guys definitely have a close relationship.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's not even the worst thing she said to me. It's fine. You should hear our conversations in private. It's hilarious.
There you go. There's an idea for a vlog right there, or a podcast.
I don't know. That may not be good for all ears. You know what I mean?
Most friendships are like that. Those are the best conversations.
That's true. Yeah, those are the best kind of conversations. Yeah, it's awesome. Ask her about the struggle bus. You know, I'm constantly on it. I'm destination Stupidville.
All of us are. I believe all of us are. Anytime someone says that they're not going through something when it comes to finance, you're lying. You're definitely lying, because there's no way in hell. Yeah. Bread is like fucking $11 or something like something. None of this shit makes sense. Milk is like freaking $12. Like, it used to be $1. Gas is crazy.
Like my current salary at my new job used to be a comfortable salary. Now you can barely get by on that salary. And I'm just like, what world are we living in where the inflation has just outpaced salaries now to the point where we're all like struggling to make it. So that's why I'm always just so grateful when anybody was like, here, let me gift you 5 memberships. Like, that was hard-earned money that they just gave to me. And I know how difficult it was to get that. So thank you.
Yes. And whoever it was that did that, because I keep looking at it and I don't know whether it was just 5 people or 9. Like, I see all these numbers and I still don't know what I'm reading. And I'm trying to go through the chat.
I wish I could help you out, but I know nothing about Twitch gifted subs.
I know, and that's the thing. Like Twitch, I thought I knew it. And then as soon as I started getting subs and all this other stuff, and I made affiliate, they started adding all these new things I have to learn. And I'm like, oh, man. So here are more tutorials I got to look at on YouTube. Yeah. But it's a learning thing. I'm enjoying it, though. You know, it's a process, but it's those things that, again, it's my first time experiencing that, and because of
it's given me something to focus my energies into. Yes. It's a positive outlet, because I struggle. I'm in therapy. I've been in for several years, and I struggle with really negative self-talk and negative thoughts. The glass is always half empty, you know. And so this has been a really good. And I mean, that's a daily thing. It's an unconscious thought sometimes that can be negative. And you don't think it is because it's just so innate in your nature to think that way. But this has really kind of being exposed to so many different people with so many different struggles. And it really puts your own life into perspective. Like, wow, I mean, I think I've got it bad, but this person just shared a very hard thing they're going through. And it makes my thing feel, and not that you should be comparing, but it like really puts your own stuff into perspective. It pulls you out of your little pity party, or it pulls you out of your own ego, and you go, there are people out there who are really struggling. There's this one friend of mine. She's also a content creator, and her husband's been dealing with cancer, and she's got a lot of health problems. And the fact that she's able to maintain so much positivity and good spirits under tremendous pressure and tremendous burden is really inspiring to watch, because I can just get really mired down in the weeds with things sometimes over just stupid little things that aren't really that big of a deal. And to think of somebody struggling in such a huge way with health issues and cancer and finances, like I said, it's really put my struggles into a better perspective of, I can have a better attitude because my day's not nearly as bad as what's going on with her. And she can still smile, and she can still show up, and she can still do things. I can too, you know? And so I've been really blessed with all the people I've known in this world, because they inspire me. You know, they say, oh, you inspire me to build all these things. And I'm just like, but you guys telling me your stories and listening to what you encounter and what you deal with, that inspires me in my own life and in just my thinking, you know? So, you know, that's been another huge positive in all of this, is just being able to, like, mini therapy,
Yeah,
listening to people talk, you know?
yes, and it's like you were mentioning, like right now, Sunny gifted. Hold on, I need to go. Like, this is
What?
just crazy. Yes, Sunny just gifted 10 tier 1 subs to the podcast. Thank you so much, Sunny. You are
Oh,
the
that's so
best.
sweet.
Thank
She's
you
so
so much.
generous. I mean,
Yes.
she's a comedian. She's a kidster, but like for real, she is one of my most generous supporters. That girl, she's been with me from the beginning. So.
Thank you so much. Hold on, I get to use like these effects now. I haven't used any of these. I get to finally have an excuse to use the effects. But
she's all like,
thank you
stop.
so
She's
much.
probably
I really
blushing.
appreciate
Don't
that.
talk about me.
Even the people on YouTube know who Sunny is. Suzanne
Yep.
is over there saying that's Sunny for you. She's the best.
Yep.
Yes, Sunny, you
Yep.
rock. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
She
it.
does. And Susan, I see Susan. Hey, Susan. She's
Yes,
also
Susan.
another very generous person, very just with her time and her finances. I love her to pieces. She's great. These people are,
Yeah,
they're my
your
family now.
community is amazing, because right now I'm telling you right now, a good majority of the people that are coming here, they're bouncing from YouTube and jumping on Twitch, and they're even saying that they're really not Twitch users, and still they're jumping on Twitch somehow, and they're showing love and support. So you really have a lot of people that love what you're doing. You're very kind. Thank you all for showing up and showing love to my podcast and for being
I'm
here.
so glad they did, because I put it in my Discord. I was like, hey, if you can't watch it live, come watch it later. This, you know, he does really good at interviewing, and they showed up, and I thank you guys. Thank you all for being here.
Yes,
This,
and you
this
are
is
truly
great.
amazing. You've been going with all these things, helping the conversation go. You got the community over here. You got the chat kicking and going off like crazy. So it's been really amazing. I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Well, good.
Before we go any further, though, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to all this community building and everything, what would be one of your most memorable moments of whether it comes to building community or experience and everything, as far as, you know, live streaming and learning new things? Like, what's the most memorable thing that you have in your mind that, you know, was either like the thing that happened to you, like, okay, I'm a streamer now, or I'm really a gamer, or I have my community? Like, what was it that you can remember that really got you to that point? Like, you know what, I think I made it to where I'm trying to get to, or at least I'm on the right path.
I think putting myself out there in that way, and then seeing the immediate response overwhelmed me more than I thought it would. Because I was like, I might never have more than 50 or 100 people, you know, and then like literally right off the bat, within just a few days, had 50 subscribers. And it was like, what? So that was really nice. Having people like Cans Alone from his channel raid my stream and then like do super chats and things like that. Or another guy in our community, Jersey Games, you know, the honor of him coming over and building stuff with me, and also talking about me being this great designer and builder, like just the compliments that I've gotten from people. But some of my favorite memories in all of this has been a group of friends of mine, Sunny being one of them, Misty, Rainy, and a few others, where we would play together. Flo, Ditzy, the old crowd would play together on Dinkum, and we would do these Friday night gaming streams, and nobody was probably really watching them. We were just doing them to entertain ourselves, right? And the laughter. I mean, I would laugh so hard with these ladies. My stomach hurt. My stomach muscles were like sore the next day. And just having that experience where I would laugh until I would cry. And then my friend Misty has been like making shorts from those videos that we did, and so it's popping back up in my feed from like last year, and just it put the biggest smile on my face. And just all the memories of the late night gaming sessions, even the ones that I wasn't streaming, just hanging out with friends, like they have made this year so much better. I just can't I cannot illustrate that enough. And just the laughter and just the memories that I've shared, that means more to me than even if I ever get to like 10,000 subscribers. Those little moments, I'll get to take those with me forever, you know? And just having that pop back up into my feed recently is what reminded me of it. Cause I was just like, those were the best times. We would laugh so hard. We need to do that again. But, you know, life circumstances have kind of taken us all in different directions for the time being. And we're going to have to make a conscious effort to like, okay, every month we're going to play on this day with each other, because I feel like we all feel better when we're together and hanging out and just doing our thing and being silly. And it's not for anybody. It's just for us to have fun together, because life is hard.
Yes,
And
I
you
agree.
need people on the journey with you. So
100%.
for me, that's the best part of all of this, was just having those little moments. And you know, obviously being really proud of some of the things that I have built in the games that I play. And stepping back from it and going, wow, this is really cool, you know, like, and usually it's a collaborative effort. I've had people come in and help out. And so it's like standing back and like, look at what we did. And it may seem silly to some people. It's just a stupid video game. Who cares, you know? But like, we did this together. We made this beautiful thing, and it just makes you feel good, you know? It's like if you play a perfect round of golf. It's just one of those kinds of things, you know, if you make it equivalent. So that for me is, I think, sums it up. That's what I've enjoyed the most. You know, even if I only ever had one or two people in a stream ever, it would still be fun because you're making those memories with other people. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a big benefit also. Not only does it help you connect with other people, but it's like you say, you build those memories. And I think that that's something that you're not only building memories, you're documenting the stuff. It's being recorded, it's being streamed live, like, and you're giving people something visually, and whether they're reading the chat or you're doing something on video, they have those things that'll trigger memories. The music you're playing in the back, the game that you're playing, the thing that you're saying, like, it's all these different things that they help build up that nostalgia, that when and if the time comes, like, they'll remember it and things will trigger the memory. And it's things that, like you mentioned, a lot of us need that. Life is tough, it's rough, and like I mentioned before, everyone is going through it. Some of them are just better at hiding it than others, but everyone's going through it. And you don't know how bad you got it until you meet somebody who has it worse. And then you really start looking at things differently, and you start questioning stuff like, you know, I've been sitting here beating myself up or taking my opportunities away because I'm thinking it's the end of the world. And meanwhile, there's someone else that's actually literally trying, and they're actually, or if not, they're looking at you thinking like, you know, you're their hope of showing them that they could do something. And you're just, it's surprising. It's surprising to see who looks up to you or who sticks around with you and shares things with you or can relate. And it's a mixed box of different things. But in all honesty, it just starts with being open about who you are and expressing yourself, whether it is live on stream or through video, or even in private with someone, or in your art or your music. Like,
I've been so honored to the fact that some people have shared some very, very deeply personal things that they're struggling with because of something I said. And they were like, that gave me the courage to tell you, X, Y, or Z. And to trust me with that information, I take that as a deep honor, because that's, being vulnerable is hard, like opening yourself up to somebody who's basically a stranger. But sometimes it's easier to say things to the people that are somewhat strangers to you than it is to tell the people in your everyday life. And so I take that as a huge compliment that people could tell me something like that that's just so personal about their life, and to be willing to share that, and so it's given me the courage to share some very personal struggles of my own on my members only section, because I'm not quite ready to put that out there for the whole world to see. But it's given me the courage to put that information out there and show them, hey, look, just because it all looks all smiles and sunshine on the camera doesn't mean that it is in real life. This is the reality, and I want you to know that I don't have it as easy as you might think I do, or it's not all perfect for me. I'm just not skipping through life, and everything's wonderful. There are things that I deal with too, and you're not alone. That's, I think, because I can get to feeling really lonely about something and realize, but I'm not here by myself. There are all these other people, and maybe they're not going through the exact same thing I'm going through, but they can relate on some level. And so you just feel a little bit more connected. And I've kept that in the back of my mind the last several weeks, because anytime I ever start to just feel like, I'll text Sunny, or I'll get in a game with Susan and all of them, and just, pull myself out of that place, because I do have people. I'm not alone, and they're there, and I can rely on them if I need to, and vice versa. So gotta love that.
That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. That's what I believe things are supposed to be. And that's the way real society should just be with each other. And it's just weird that it takes us having to get that and build that relationship with people that we really don't know online, and do that when we got people that we know in person, whether it's family members or close friends, or what was that? Whether it's family member, close friends, or anything like that. Like, I just feel like for whatever reason, doing stuff online makes it a lot easier. Like, socializing with someone online and getting to know them, for whatever reason, it's an easier thing than finding someone in person and being able to express.
I think it gives you a little bit of a barrier. It gives you a little bit of an out if you need it. Being online versus face to face, having a conversation with somebody, it's a little harder to say to someone's face, something vulnerable, but it's easy to type a message and send it to somebody on Discord or through email or whatever your choice of messaging service might be. And so I think this gives people just a little bit of wiggle room to be comfortable and vulnerable, but without being all the way, it gives them a little bit of a slide into it. So at least that's how I look at it. Maybe others don't, but that's how it kind of feels. It's a little bit of a gradual versus here we are face to face, and I'm going to open you up to this very vulnerable thing about myself. Whereas if I can kind of hide behind my computer screen, I can kind of like gauge just a little bit, like, how are they going to take this information? And then you can, go from there. So I think it gives you a little bit of a safety net.
Yes, I agree with you. Because it's like you're saying, like, if you don't, it's hard to kind of block somebody in real life if you don't like them or you're kind of annoyed with them or something,
Right.
And then online, like, you kind of have that pillow where you can kind of, take things back, or, hide things that you post or delete or whatever it is. And we tend to overthink when we don't have those settings in real life. We want people to unsee or unhear what they heard, that we're overthinking, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that to this person, or maybe I shouldn't have shared this, or maybe
Oh boy, I've been there.
And it gets to that point. And then you're overthinking. Little do you know, that person either respects you for it or really doesn't care that much, or maybe they do look at it in a certain way and it's something you should have done. But it's in the sense where I look at it, you shouldn't have to hide who you are. If you like something, or you're into something, or you don't like it and it's not your thing, like, regardless of what, you should let people know, so people know how they should do certain things around you. It's all a learning process. Not that there has to be rules and regulations for like every little interaction with someone that stops you from enjoying the moment or enjoying the experience of meeting someone new or anything like that. but everyone has their lines of what they're willing to share with someone and willing to take in the sense of absorb. Like, I'm a big believer in energies, in the sense of someone has a crappy energy and I'm not trying to hang around you. Yes, I understand the struggle and I feel bad, but when you're around it too much personally and that person's always woe is me, it kind of gets you to the point like, damn, like I want to help you, but I can't, and you're not even helping yourself. So
Yeah.
it kills a lot of things. So it's like those things also, like there's times I've been online and I build these relationships with people, but then sometimes I see that they're not really doing anything to get themselves out of the funk that they're in. And then I start feeling really guilty. There's been times that I won't go to sleep overthinking about people that I haven't even met or know from a hole in the wall. And I'm like, yo, are they okay? Are they fine? They're not answering messages or not. And I started like really losing myself in things like that. Or if it wasn't even things like that, it'd be things like missing out on certain things, like events that were happening or certain sales that were going on or projects that were dropping. And it's all these things that you overthink, and then when it's in person, it feels like there's a heavier weight to everything. To every side look, to every side comment, there's like a heavier thing. Like you're like, damn, like. And sometimes it's really not even that serious. It's the same online. It's a little difficult because when you're chatting and stuff, things can be misinterpreted for other things. But then, like, you know, we have video and we have voice chat stuff. So it's like,
you can see the facial expressions. You can hear the inflection. You can hear the
yes.
tone. You know, yeah, there is some burden in some ways in this position, because people do share information with me, sometimes probably more than they should, you know, and like you were saying, people don't get themselves, you know, they get themselves into these situations. And I try to be nice. I try to show kindness. I try to show empathy to others because it's been done for me and I want to pay that forward. There's some people that you come across and you encounter, and they just have a million excuses as to what you're like, okay, I'm going to have this conversation with you. I don't have a whole lot of time, but it seems like you're struggling and you need to talk about this. And then you know, start walking through the process. And because I've been in therapy for many years, I'll sometimes use some of the things I've learned to kind of talk to them. And, you know, when you talk to somebody who's got a million excuses for why they can't do something, after a while, you just kind of, okay, obviously you just need to chat, you know, and I get that. But there has to be a point where you take some proactive action in your life to make things better, because I can't be your therapist every time you've got a problem. And so that's another layer of this whole like YouTube content creation world that I was not quite prepared for. I was not quite prepared to receive so much information from some people, but also be burdened with that constant need to be in communication. Yes. And I want to be supportive, but again, you can't pour from an empty cup. And here lately I've kind of been on empty, you know? And so I want to be supportive, but I'm kind of coming from a place where I'm just out, you know? And so I feel some guilt over that. I know I shouldn't. It's not my responsibility to make everybody in life feel good, but I do feel like I've been given a tremendous responsibility by all the people who have subscribed, by all the people who have, you know, shown financial support, who show up at streams, to be there for them, you know, and I take that seriously. I don't see this as just some lightness thing, you know, that I can just blow off whenever I want. I do think people have come to rely on watching me stream certain games and play certain things and certain videos to come out. And that's an important privilege and honor, but it also kind of does sometimes feel like a burden. And everybody has been very generous. It's like, hey, if you never need to take a break, or you need to just not stream one day, like today, I was supposed to have a collaborative stream earlier at lunchtime, and a couple of the ladies weren't feeling good and having issues. And I decided, instead of streaming myself, just by myself doing another game, there's a whole laundry list of things I've been putting off. Today is the day to get those done, you know, and not feel guilty that I didn't stream, even though I normally do every Friday afternoon, you know? So that tightrope that you walk of wanting to be there and be present for people, but also needing to take time for yourself, needing to get the to-do list checked off. And I found that more often than not, people aren't ever disappointed. They're just like, yeah, you've got to do you. You've got to take that time. You've got to take those breaks when you need to. You have a life too. You aren't beholden to be chained to the computer streaming all the time. And I do appreciate that they give me the space to do that. And I don't have to feel too guilty. I do feel guilty, but like, then somebody will comment and be like, you need this, do it for yourself. And then I'm like, okay, I've been given permission. It's all right.
No, I agree with you. Sometimes I have the same thing too. Like I'll have a lot of guest speakers on here, and then I want to show support and love back to them too, to everything they're doing. But then sometimes it gets really overwhelming in the sense that there's so many people that do so many things. And then you're also trying to stream as well and do your content and do stuff. So then it's like you mentioned earlier, you try your best to respect everybody else's stuff by not streaming when they're streaming. And you take things like that into consideration out of respect. And then it just gets to a point where you
can't accommodate everybody, though. That's the problem.
Exactly. And it turns into this thing where you're like, oh, do I show up to this person's stream? Do I go here? Do I go there? Do I do my stream today, even though this person's streaming, but I'm in the mood to stream now? I can't do it later. Are they gonna? So it's like all these things you overthink about. And I've just learned, I just go with it. I hope no one takes anything I say or do to the heart, because that's never my intention. I do speak sometimes freely, and a lot of things that I do, I speak more from the position of a fan, of a viewer, of a follower, of a subscriber, because that's what I am. And I still feel like no matter how many times I do live streams or do any recordings or whatever, in my mind, I'm always like, I don't know what I'm doing still. I still need to learn. I'm in the learning process. I got to be a student. I have to. So it's like I'm always trying to learn from other people's mistakes or from what they're doing. And I always take into consideration, I, as a fan, as a viewer, I don't like this, or I do like this, or I appreciate that. So it's like all those little things, when it boils down to it, at the end of the day, it's like, it's not only helping you if you express it and you say it and you share it and you support it, but it's also helping the person that's creating. They're learning, they're building, they're adapting, they're growing. And it's at the same time, it's also helping. Like I was really bad at communicating with people. If it wasn't for the chat and the DMs, I wouldn't have a good knowledge of how to do that. Sometimes if it wasn't for these podcasts, I feel like I wouldn't know how to hold up a good conversation with a total stranger.
You've done fantastically, though.
That's what I love. But I feel, and I really appreciate that, and I feel like the reason for that is because of these podcasting, because I really don't socialize with people in my regular life anymore. Like, I'm older, all my friends are all moved apart. I just go to work, I come back, I'm with my kids, I do the same thing all over again. So I say it a lot in the DMs and stuff. This is the only time I'm social with anybody. So at the same time, there's those days where it's like, shit, I don't want to talk in the chat, or I don't want to do this, or you just have those things where you overthink, whether it's you overthink because you're doing too much, you overthink because you feel like you're doing too little, and you fight with that a lot. But at the same time, it's a learning process. When you put yourself in that uncomfortability, you start getting more comfortable with it, and you start realizing that those little things are just thoughts in your head, and they're really not, no one else is thinking about it. No one else is really noticing it. No one else really cares. Like,
we're our own worst critics. So all the things that we're criticizing about whatever's going on, nobody else is paying attention to. But 100%. I, of course, have to point them all out to everyone. So that way, I know that I know I'm not doing the greatest job, Exactly. And if I hadn't said anything, they wouldn't know, That's another thing I need to work on.
I'm the same way. I look at it like, you know what? Do they know it's there? Do they not? You know what? Before I play this game, it's there. I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. Just I know it's there. Don't think I'm stupid. I know and we're good.
I'm on the struggle bus. It's fine. Whatever.
100%. 100%. We all are.
Yeah. So let's everybody just squeeze in together. We'll all fit. It's fine.
Exactly. Well, as long as we make it to where we're going, it don't matter.
Right. Exactly.
So we've been streaming for 2 hours now. We have 34 people on Twitter/X. We still have 10 people. Thank you guys so much. You guys are so amazing. Aww. And just so you know, your friend, where is she at? Is she still in there? I want to see. Still in the yes. Here we go. Sunny52 has been jumping from Twitch to YouTube, gifting people subs and all this. I didn't even know you could do that on YouTube, but I'm just seeing it, and it doesn't give me a notification. I'm just seeing what people are saying in the chat. So she gifted something to Suzanne also, and to everybody else who's in the chat and YouTube.
Oh my goodness, Susie, Sunny, you're a kook. I love you.
Just amazing. So your community is showing up. Everybody's here. Everybody's excited that you're on the podcast. I truly appreciate all the love and support, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys for showing up today. I appreciate that.
Before we get out of here, I want to ask you a few more questions to get a better idea of who you are as a person, as a streamer, and everything. Okay. You hold on one second. What is this showing up on my thing? I have service. Don't scare me now.
Technical difficulties.
Yes, I got this thing saying that my Wi-Fi went out, but everything is still good, right? I'm still, I can still see you. You can still hear me. I'm good.
Yeah, everything looks good.
I got nervous for a second. I'm like, hold on, not now. All these notifications coming up. I don't know what to look at and what not to. All right. So is there anything specific as a live streamer, as a content creator, as a mom, as a female in the space that you would like to make clear or to relay as far as a message to anyone else who you feel can either relate or someone who's not educated in the sense of that area, like that are either judging in the sense that either you can or you can't do it because you are a mother or because you are a female or because you're a content creator, that there's no way you can do anything? Or like, I know there's so many things I come across that I think of or that come to mind whenever I talk about these things. I know there's a lot of people, me for myself, which is why I'm asking this. For a while, it took me a long time to admit to people that I was doing streaming or that I was creating content or that I was being that guy with the camera everywhere I went. And it was mostly because I always overthought about, I knew I was new to this and I know it's a process, but for the people who don't understand it, like we mentioned earlier, think it's just flipping a switch. They look at it like you're either wasting your time or you don't know what you're doing or that's stupid or that's not gonna, it's a lot of things. Or they'll look at it like you're not capable of doing it because you don't know what this is or you don't. So I know I dealt with a lot of things. Is there anything you would like to tell anyone else who would like to do this and is either too scared or feels like they don't have, like, besides the equipment, like the experience or the confidence or like anything that you've learned through all this that you want to make sure you get across to anyone who is even thinking about taking a step into content creating, streaming, gaming, or anything like that?
Wow, that's a good question. 15 months ago, I didn't know anything about this either. I didn't know the first thing about how to stream. I knew how to do Facebook live streaming because I'd done it for one of the jobs that I had worked. I knew how to do Instagram live streaming, but to do it where I was playing a game and it captured my screen and broadcasted out on YouTube and all the things that went along with that, I had no idea, literally none. 15 months ago, no idea. So I think the thing that I would say is whenever you feel like so much of it is how we tell what we tell ourselves, right? If you were to step out of your body and just look at the experience or look at what's in front of you and do it a little bit more objectively, because we infuse so much of our emotion and our ego into things that it can be a stumbling block. It can be a hurdle to overcome. And for me, I had been thinking about it and it was like, I just need to pull the trigger and just start. Because if I don't just do it, I'll never do it. I don't need to get all my ducks in a row. I don't need to have all these things, and I had other people telling me, you don't have to do this. You can start here. I think that simple and just research, 15 months ago, didn't know a thing. So I Googled and I chat GPT'd and I watched YouTube videos and, got answers and accumulated. And I started playing around and experimenting. Oh, that's not going to work. Or I don't know how to do that. Okay, I need to ask a different question. And then I would reach out, once I had exhausted all of my search options, I would then reach out to people and be like, can you help me with this? And because like sometimes you just don't know how to ask the right question. A big part of the hurdle you have to overcome is knowing which questions to ask, because I will type something into Google and it's not the right thing. And if I had just typed the right thing in, I could have had the answer so much sooner. So that's a big part of it, is knowing what things are called and how to, so I can see how it looks very overwhelming. But if you want to do something similar to this, you want to start a podcast, you want to be an influencer, you want to play games on the internet, or you want to, maybe you're an artist and you just want to live stream the art you create, which I think is fantastic. Just get started. It'll be crap in the beginning. It's going to be shit. That's how it is. That's the trial by fire. We all have to graduate up. I look at the streamers that I've been watching for years that have 1 million subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. And I go, okay, I'm not there yet, but they were also here at one point. It's just, we all have the same starting point. We all have to crawl before we can walk. We all have to walk before we can run. So if you know that going in, it's just little things. Okay, today I'm just going to learn how to download this thing. Just take little bitty, because like if you think, oh, I've got to do this and this and this, and you make this big list and you try to do it all at one time, it's just like this huge wave crashes over you. So like what I had to do was, today's goal is to figure out how to set up a scene in OBS. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to set up a microphone. I'm not going to set up I'm just going to figure out how to do this one thing. And then the next day I would build on that, until 2 weeks had gone by and I had everything set up the way that I wanted it and needed it to be set up. And it's been tweaked a few times since then, even from the beginning. So it's little steps. They say you can't eat an elephant in one sitting. You have to take bites. And I think with anything like this, when you have you're not a big technical person, you don't know a lot about computers, you got to give yourself grace for one thing. But two, if you just learn one thing a day, one small thing, a quote that keeps getting told to me over and over again is, we overestimate, I'm going to get it wrong. We overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. So I feel like, and I can't take credit for that quote, but it's definitely like that. Today I can do this. Tomorrow I will learn the next thing. And then the day after that, I'm going to learn this. And then eventually you have this collection of knowledge that you didn't have a month before. But if you had tried to learn all those things in one day, you'd give up. I can't do it. And then you'd walk away. And so my thing is, take it slow. You're only in a race with yourself. There's nobody else in this race with you, just you. All you're doing is trying to be better than the person you were the day before. And you're better quality, better content, better ideas, right? It's only with yourself. I have a hard time looking at other people and what they're doing and comparing and going, oh, I need to be doing that. Or no, take that out of the equation completely. Forget everybody else. Take all that noise, put the noise canceling headphones on, focus on what you're doing, because that's going to be another thing that trips you up in the end. Focusing on what everybody else is doing. Oh, well, they did this, they did that. I'm not doing that. Forget them. You have to find your niche in whatever you're doing. And so you've got this podcast and you're interviewing all these people and you've got a great collection of videos. You're going in that direction. That's great. Everybody has their thing. They're going to find their audience. It may take a little bit more time. It may take a little bit more clawing and struggle, but eventually you're going to, like you said earlier in the stream, you find your tribe, you find your people, because you're being an authentic individual. You are, talking about hard ideas, concepts, things like that. People gravitate towards that stuff. So that would be my advice, is take it slow. You're only in a race with yourself. Don't compare what other people are doing, because it will be the death of any success that you have. And anytime I start to slow down in my forward motion is because I'm looking back. I'm looking what other people are doing. The windshield is so big because that's where you should have your focus. The rear view is so small because you don't really need to be looking back there. What you did yesterday, it's over. What are you doing tomorrow? So there you go.
I really truly love that. I strongly feel the same with a lot that you said. And it's true. A lot of us have an issue. We either overcomplicate things because we like to overanalyze ourselves, or we compare ourselves to others, or
comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, 100%.
And I'm bad about that. So I'm preaching to myself when I say it.
I believe that. I believe that also. I believe all of us we're amazing at giving advice and we suck at taking our own advice. But I strongly feel that a lot of us deep down inside, as much as we like to claim that we're lost and we don't know what to do, we all know the next step that we're supposed to take. We all know the things that we're supposed to stop and give up, and the things we're supposed to change. But we just fight with it because we feel like either we're not good enough, we're not worthy enough, or we tend to just hold back and think that it's not possible, that we don't have what we need in order to take that step, that we're not strong enough, that it's a lot of things. But at the end of the day, it's all self-doubt. It's all things that we bring into ourselves, and we're allowing the things people say or how they think or what we think they might be saying and thinking stop us. And at the end of the day, none of that matters. It's literally you. You're the one who's with you 24 hours a day. Like no one else has. No one knows what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you've been through but you. No one knows you better than yourself. So it's just
one can hope anyway.
Exactly. I know, right? With technology now, with everything, who knows? Big Brother's listening or something, but it's true though. It's true. It stops a lot of us from doing the thing that really can unlock our true happiness. And I appreciate you for saying that and for sharing that. I appreciate you for stopping by.
It's a hard lesson learned. It's a journey. You're not going to get to a destination ever. It is a forward motion, always climbing. Because I know where I was 5 years ago. I know where I was 2 years ago. I know where I am today. I'm hoping that I'll be that much further up 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now. So it's a constant journey. It's not a destination. So, and that's really hard because I want to accomplish something. Damn it. I want to get there. I want to, but the joy is in the journey, not so much the destination, So I got to keep that at the forefront of my mind. And it's not easy, especially given my mindset. Sometimes it's not an easy concept to really wrap around and embrace, So again, I don't say any of it. It's a lesson I need to continue to learn myself. So.
I can relate. I think a lot of people relate. And that's why you have the community that you have. You're very open and showing that and expressing yourself in that way. You have all these amazing people that are here for you and to support you, and they're all saying amazing things. And thank you again, Sunny, for everything you did. Sunny even got Suzanne to create a Twitch account and all of this, and she hopped on Twitch. So
hey, Susan.
It's crazy. And thank you, Robert, also for being here. EBH, I can't even read your name, man.
Contemporary?
Yes, Contemporary.
EBH, Contemporary.
I overthink so much, so I don't know whether to read a chunk of it or all of it, but you guys know who I'm talking about. And then we also have, who else? Dylan came by. We had, what else? Megan was here for a while. I think she's still here too with Full Moon Children. Daniel, so many of you. Nacho, Brofit was here for a bit. Soggy's in and out of the chat. So everybody, thank you so much for coming here, for showing love and support. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. Thank you, Suzanne, for no, it wasn't Suzanne. It was Suzanne, right? No, Susan. I'm sorry. Susan. No, it was no, Sunny. Sunny was the one, yes, who gifted all the subs.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's the first time I experienced it, so I'm sorry I did it a little late, and I didn't catch on until my phone started glowing red. I thought something happened, but
no.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for the love, for the support, for the experience, for me being able to have this moment to just learn and really just be inspired. Like I mentioned, it's really clearly obvious that you know what you're doing, that you enjoy what you're doing. And
I've got him fooled, y'all.
You probably do, but at the end of the day, there's no way that you've been able to get the amount of subscribers you have that turned into people who are in a community, who are showing up for you like this and showing love and support, if you weren't a great person, and you weren't doing something right. And I'm a strong believer in that. I believe actions speak louder than words. And when people see that, it makes them, they're willing to back you up, and they're willing to be there and show up. And you have, from this to your daughter speaking to me about you and your stuff. Like, I honestly, in my mind, this blew me away. This goes to show me, you're doing a lot of stuff to the point that you're very active. Those 1 videos a month and a week and everything, all that stuff and all those goals, really just show that you're putting in the proper time and effort, not only in caring about the games that you're playing and what you're recording and how you edit, but to build these relationships with these people. Because if not, you wouldn't have these people showing up like that and people speaking so highly of you. And it's great. So you give me
That's
hope.
so sweet to say.
It's true though, and the way that you carry yourself and present yourself, it gives me hope in the sense that there's other like-minded people out there that are willing to turn on a camera and express their feelings and share, their personal lives and what they're interested in and build these relationships with people, it shows that it's actually for a reason. It pays off. You might not be the famous person that all these other people brag about in the sense of reaching millions and millions of followers and making cajillions of dollars. But at the end of the day, it's like you mentioned, these relationships that you build with these people are way more valuable. And
yes,
see that even more
absolutely
with what you did. And I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for being an amazing guest. Thank you for bringing all these amazing people over here to show love and
good.
support.
I'm so glad.
You are
I'm honored that you would ask me. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough to say for 2.5 hours. I should have known better.
Like, you don't understand. Like, I wish I could show the questions. Like, I try not to, so people don't anticipate it and it's more normal. But it's like, if I were to show you the questions that I had and you lined it up with the timing of the video and however you literally were like going down and in my head, I'm like, yo, she's answering everything. Like, this is great because she's hitting everything. But at the same time, I was like, I'm worrying. I don't want to ask the same question twice. I don't want to.
No, it's been awesome. Like I said, I've had a little experience doing a podcast myself. I do this streaming a lot. So I can fake it,
No, you know what you're doing. You clearly, like, you were in control of the whole thing, and I loved it. I'm like, yo, she's like on a roll right now and hitting so many things that I can just bring up.
Be careful what you ask for from me. I can talk your ear off.
Hey, but still, it's good because you're being informative. You're sharing from your experiences and the way that you present yourself and the things that you say and how you go about saying it. It goes to show like you're really thinking about what you're saying and that you can't fake the funk. I say that a lot. And you can see that you actually care about these people that you're communicating with and socializing with. You care about the things you're streaming. You care about that you're streaming. Like everything. It goes to show like you take it seriously. It's not like this thing that you're just like, yeah, I do it, whatever. I don't care. There's people here. They pay me. They follow, whatever. Bye. Like you actually care, and it shows. And I have a lot of respect for people that do that. You know what I mean? It's not easy to put yourself out there. So the fact that you do it, but you take the time to actually show that you respect others as well by the way you present and the time you put into learning things, it's a big thing to me because it goes to show that I'm not crazy. I try to do the same thing sometimes, and it inspires me. Like, I want to do all this stuff, but I'm like, is it really that serious? Should I wait? Should I not? And it shows from what you're showing and what you're growing and how you've been building stuff. It gives me hope. Like, you know what? I want to get to that level. I want to work my way up to that.
Just think about how you said earlier, though, I'm not very good at conversation. I'm not very good at communicating. And yet you have all these conversations on your Twitch, all these videos of people you've sat and talked to. And I watched some of them, and I watched the one you did with my daughter, Megan. It's like, this guy, you do know how to communicate, So even if you started and you didn't really know, look at where you are now. And that's how I kind of have to look at things for myself too. It's like, look at where I started, but look at where I am now. Where am I going to be in another year? And you have to think that way for yourself too. Where am I going to be in a year? Where am I going to be in 6 months? Because I was over here and now I'm here. Like, I feel like that should give all of us this like surge of like hope and, adrenaline. Like,
True.
if we keep that attitude, then just imagine what you can do in 6 months and where you'll be in 6 months. It's what I tell myself anyway.
No, but it's true though. It's true. And what I love about it is like when people such as yourself that say it, that can actually show proof in the work is great. And that's what I really enjoy about this. Like, I get to have the conversations and I get an excuse to edit and live stream and everything. But at the same time, I like documenting it and sharing it, not so people can learn from the conversation also, but just to see, like, the same way that you're saying you didn't know how to start or what it was and you got going and look at how you are now. I'm trying my best too. Like, you're mentioning all these episodes and I still feel like I suck at it. And it's just because in my mind, I want to make sure that I'm constantly improving and I'm learning. So it's like people like, you know how to stream and I don't know how to do this. You know more than me. I'm like, yeah, but I still suck. And they're like, but bro, you know how to connect things and how to merge this and have a background and do the sound. And in my mind, being that I've done it so repetitively to this point, it comes off like it's nothing. And I'm still thinking in my mind, I still need this. And I'm not like, you're always chasing that thing of what you want to be. And little do you know, you're already that person or you're already at that level. It's just the thing of the consistency. It's not
but here's the thing. Sometimes just showing up is enough. Just
True.
showing up is enough.
True.
All the production stuff, we think of it because of as being content creators that's really important. But for those people who are in chat right now, watching and listening, just showing up.
True.
You show up and you talk and you make connections with people. And I think that matters more than any of the other things, at least that's the feedback I've gotten. And I would think that your followers would agree with that. Just showing up, and putting it out, even if it's a crap conversation or if it's a crap stream that day, or I built the crappiest thing. I showed up and I had a good time with friends, and that's all that matters, And so I think we are so hard on ourselves. And I think that you have to do that to push yourself, right? You want to get better, you want to grow, but you also have to look at it and go, but I did it today. May not have been great, but I did it, and there you have it, so
100%. No, it's true.
Yeah.
You're right though. And
it's a hard thing to really absorb. I'm still figuring that out too. I don't say that as an admonishment at all. I have to tell myself that every day. At least I showed up. At least I did it. I didn't talk myself out of it that day.
Exactly. That's the most important part of the battle, I think. And
Yeah.
I do, and it does. It helps when you have that mentality, but at the same time, when you have people such as these people that are, like I mentioned, they're just supportive. They show up the day that you're thinking that you don't got it in you to show up. They got you, and they're there, and they're pushing you like, "Oh, you got it. Come on, let's go. We need it." And it's just crazy. It's something that you didn't know you needed or didn't even know it existed out there. And when you find it, it just gives you that motivation to want to keep going and keep trying to improve. And it's great.
Yeah. It was the thing that was missing, and now I have it, and I won't ever let it go, probably.
Exactly. That's the secret sauce right there. So once again,
is.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate all the love and support. Sarah, thank you so much. You were such an amazing guest.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. It was a new and different experience to have, and I really appreciate you inviting me to come do this with you.
And I thank you so much for coming by, for stopping and chilling with us, chatting it up, sharing a bit about yourself, giving us some more information and a look in the other side of the camera when it comes to streaming and gaming, and for bringing your amazing community to represent your love, and for all the other people that are always here. I don't know if I say I got my own little community, but for Nacho, for Soggy, for Megan, for BroFit, for everybody who showed up, I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the love and support. For everyone who showed up on YouTube, you guys, normally my YouTube thing is never popping up, so you guys are going crazy right now. I really appreciate that too. Nacho, thank you so much for hopping back and forth. Susan, thank you for making a Twitch account just to get on the chat. And Sonny, thank you so much for the gifted subs. I really appreciate that. And everybody, please make sure you go and show Sarah some love. If you want to follow her or check her stuff out, wherever you are listening, wherever you are watching this episode of Clocking Out, all her contact and profile information is going to be in the description below, wherever you're watching and listening. Make sure you go and show her some love. Check her out on her streams and check out some cozy gaming. And this has been another episode of Clocking Out. Sarah, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
I love y'all. Stay safe. Peace.
Bye.